If we could have everyone's attention, we'll have the invocation and pledge of allegiance to the American flag. However, since it's Christmas time, I'd like to do something a little bit different, maybe a little bit special. I'd like to ask Mr. Jason Cook to offer up a passage of Scripture from Luke chapter 2, and then offer the invocation. Mr. Cook, you're recognized. Or we'll stay seated until he gets ready to pray.
I'm just going to read Luke chapter 2, 1 through 14. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was, that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. Will everybody please rise as I give the invocation? Let us pray. Lord, during this awesome season of remembering your birth, we realize that you didn't come to this earth just to be born, but you came to die. Furthermore, we understand that the power of your death would have no meaning if you didn't resurrect yourself in 3 days. We're just thankful for this season that we're in. Thank you for the joy we have. Thank you for this great country that we live in. And I just ask that peace would be upon every home, and that mercy and grace would be extended to every family. I pray for this meeting today that your perfect will would be done, that you would give wisdom and sound discretion to our commissioners to make the right decisions, and everything would be done for the glory of God today, and that peace would reign in this building. And we give you all the glory for it today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We shall call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. All five commissioners are in attendance. Do we have any guests here? See any public officials? Additions and deletions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Add 1, 25-1682. This is the written settlement agreement addressing the rec plat fees associated with the Casa Lara. You heard it as the Casa Magnolia Development. This memorializes what was previously discussed with the board as a potential resolution. We are looking to get that approved today so that we can perfect the liens provided therein before the end of the calendar year.
Are there any questions?
And then we have a deletion under admin.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments?
Motion to approve the agenda with the deletions and additions.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Show that done. Public comments. Do we have any public comments? Mr. King, do you have a public comment that you're not going to be here for? Yes. Okay, you may approach. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less on agenda items only.
For the record, John King. Commissioner, so I wanted to make a comment just briefly on a couple of items. And it has to do with the real estate that you're considering. Number one, Commissioners, anytime that you have the opportunity to buy a property next to an existing facility, that future facility you save capital expenses on that one for parking, next to the golf course, that property is just so much less expensive over time because of all the money that you have in an asset today. So I just think that's a wise purchase. I don't care how you get the money, when I say that, I'm not making light of your decisions or how you come about that. But I don't comment about, but the value's there and the capital expenses are a whole lot less on that property. The Shady Lane, is that the beachfront piece?
Sandy Lane.
Sandy Lane, yes. This is an aerial of that property. And Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So I burnt up I'm on a different topic, correct? Or I have 3 minutes total?
Stop his time. I believe it's 3 minutes total, and it has to be on the agenda.
Okay. I thought it was per item on the agenda, Commissioner. I apologize. So,
Not during this phase.
sir?
Not during this phase.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay if you would.
Well, I'm going to try to get back. I think it's really important. But on the having to do with that property, you see, you're buying 1.24 acres if you decide, and you gain.
Mr. King?
Yes, sir.
If you speak now on any property here, each one you speak on this time, you can't speak when you come back.
Okay, let me wrap it up to say this then, and I will make it back. You see this property that you are considering on the beach. You've got a connection to almost 10 additional acres. That's huge, and I think that needs to carry a lot of weight on this particular property. And then I will make it back. I want to say something about Alderberry. Thank you.
Well, let me make sure I understand. If he uses this space to speak, then that means he's not staying for the remainder of the
That's what the intention is, yes, sir.
meeting. Does he know that?
He left.
Yeah.
But then there was some understanding whether or not he was coming back to
That's
speak on another
different.
item.
I don't know about that.
Well, this will be a learning experience. Okay, so we're done with that.
Well, you got one more.
Oh, we have another, okay. State your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Joel Duncan, and I'm here representing South Walton Little League.
You're recognized.
Is it appropriate to put on a hat in the building?
You can.
All right, I'm gonna put on my coaching hat. All right, thank you all for having me here today. Again, my name's Joel Duncan. I've been a resident of Walton County for 16 years, and I was the voluntold president of South Walton Little League, which is one of the largest volunteer organizations here in Walton County. And I want to speak a little bit upon the increased registration numbers we're experiencing here in Walton County and the need for facilities here. I'm going to read, while this, I believe, ratio correlates to our baseball program, but I'm going to read the Walton County recreational basketball registration numbers. So for the Walton County, these were published by Joe. In Paxton, we had 90 kids registered to play basketball this winter. Defuniak Springs, 214 kids. Freeport, 281 kids. South Walton, 630 kids. So that ratio, South Walton, 630 kids. The rest of the county, 585. That ratio means something. It's basic economics, supply and demand. There is demand here. We're lacking the field space. So with this purchase, our opportunity to purchase space here in South Walton, there's a demand. And we hope we recognize that demand. These numbers don't lie. They correlate across the board, from football to baseball to basketball. The demand's here in South Walton. We need facilities. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak during public comment? Seeing none. Do we have any items that need to be?
There's one.
Yeah, if you're not going to be here for the remainder of the meeting. Are you leaving? No. Okay. Is there anyone else? All right, seeing none. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve by
Second.
Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show that adopted. Show that done. All right, that'll bring us to tab 11, citizen requests. Ms. Tabitha Howard, you're recognized to speak. For the record, Madam Clerk, Tabitha Howard, you're recognized.
We'll go over the packets in a minute. Tabitha Howard, Howard. Mac Bayou is an archaeological preserve in the Sandestin DRI. The property somehow got a communication tower on the property now ×2. There was an active osprey nest on the larger tower, had been a nesting ground for years, and now it's been removed. Is that how overdeveloped Houghton County is, that even we're relocating the ospreys now? With the tower replacement, the applicant wants to change the zoning category along with the tower upgrade. Future land use of mixed use. Right now is to be archaeological preserve. Why is planning, zoning, permitting, or any BCC member even allowing this to be considered? I did find the cell tower lease agreement. The DRI that encompasses this parcel is part of the Sandestin DRI. This land is currently included in the Sandestin DRI green space calculations, even though it is not accessible to Sandestin residents. The DRI itself should be considered null and void, and the development of all the development orders, and they should stop until Sandestin is back in compliance. I did hand y'all a little packet, and you'll see I just stapled a picture on there. It's dated the 23rd, or it's 2023, and there's just one tower there. But now you'll see I took this picture yesterday. That's on the front. There's 2 towers now. So I just took that picture back in Burnt Pine yesterday, and they were asking me about it too. They're like, I'm glad you're asking questions, because they don't like it there. And then on the second page is the warranty deed. I sent this to everyone. In the first warranty deed, it also is established that it's an archaeological, and it's to remain that way when Peter Boss gave it to the county. There's another warranty deed in your packet as well, the second one. That too says the same, when Morton County then gave it to the Florida tribe of the Eastern Creek Indians. And it actually states in this warranty deed as well, burial sites. I have that circled, and you can see that in your packet. And on the next page is another warranty deed. Now, this warranty deed's a little bit different than the other two because there's nothing on, if you don't mind looking at it, it just says the location. And it's actually, it was from the Creek Indians now to the Muskegee Nation. And with that, it was left blank also for the amount, which they're supposed to, my understanding is there's to be an amount due with the warranty deed. But also, Ann, that is Ann Tucker, she signed it, and so did the two witnesses. One was her mother, and the other was her uncle. And then her aunt was the, was the notary. And that's how we came to the third warranty deed. And then on the next page, you see 1939 Mac Bayou Road. Now I understand what Kelly was talking about, because if you look at this, and if I were Kelly, if I looked at this too, if it says zoning, well, it tells you what you can zone, what's in there. In the setbacks, it can have multifamily. You can have up to 50 feet and 5 stories. Go to the next page. For the uses of this land, it has primary use as a multifamily residential. You can do single family. There's primary use. It can be used for anything. General commercial, neighborhood commercial, civic uses. Oh, and industrial, they'd have for conditional communication towers. I don't know how all of these things happened. And that was the question. I needed something actionable, so I asked about the permitting.
Loretta, stop our time, please. So that's where we are in the meeting. Under citizens' request, do you have a request that you would like to propose?
I want all the nonsense to stop. This is supposed to be an
Hold on.
archaeological preserve. Look at the deeds.
Hold on, Ms. Howard.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. The portion of the meeting that you requested to make this presentation was under citizen request.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I'm asking you, would you state the nature of your request for this board?
Until Sandestin is in compliance, number one, the cell tower shouldn't be there. It
Okay.
should not be there.
Can you offer, you presented data and you presented some evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Can you offer a summary of what that collection of evidence, what it suggests?
Well, as I said, I found the lease. I did see how that they did get a permit on 4/9/25, the
Ms.
tower
Ms.
for
Albert.
$120,000.
Are you suggesting that the permit was obtained unlawfully?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Atkinson, how do we handle those?
I think we can let Mr. Schoen address it if you want. The very simple reality, the first permit was approved by the Board of County Commissioners in an open
For the
meeting.
cell tower?
Yes, sir, in 2005.
Okay, why do you think differently, Ms. Howard?
Because it's an archaeological preserve, and then also, if you look at the paperwork for the deed itself,
Okay, hold on,
which you haven't.
hold on just a second.
Yes, sir.
I want to stay in rhythm here so I can process what's going on. I'm trying to be helpful.
Okay,
Okay, I just want to get it right. I don't want to play favoritism to one side or another. I want to play favoritism with the truth. So if everybody will respect that, all these meetings will be very productive. So if as Ms. Howard asserts, that a permit was obtained unlawfully, of which you said that there are records that show that the permit was obtained lawfully, then is there any chance that there were factors that were unknown regarding Indian artifacts or things that would have normally disallowed that type of approval?
I can't speak to what the Board of County Commissioners did in an open board meeting in 2005, other than to tell you what the minutes show, which was this matter was presented to them. The request was made from the tribe to allow them to lease the cell tower site. The small portion of the site was dedicated to the cell tower at the time. The Board of County Commissioners sitting just like you in '05, approved that to be entered into. I would note that the deed from Walton County to the Indian tribe contains additional and broader language than what was in the initial deed to Walton County. So those were the terms and conditions Walton County chose to impose, and certainly as the imposer of those conditions, the Board of County Commissioners could release those if they wanted to. And if Ms. Howard is right, and I'm not going to opine today whether or not she's right or wrong about this being inconsistent with the deeds, I'll simply say the Board of County Commissioners had every right to not abide by the conditions they imposed on this property and effectively did away with those when they granted the original permit in 2005. The time to challenge that would have been within 30 days of the issuance of the permit.
Chair.
Okay,
Chair.
so, okay, one second. So if what she is concerned with, had she been concerned with this after the permit was approved, then our ordinances require for that challenge to take place within 30 days?
Florida law does. not
Florida
just our
statutes.
ordinances. Yes,
Okay.
sir. If it's quasi judicial, you have a period of time to file a petition for certiorari 30 days after the action of the board, or if it's legislative in nature, you can file a petition for a declaratory decree or other relief.
Okay, so it sounds like the statute has spoken.
I think we're 20-plus years in at this point, yes, sir.
We're in application by 20-something years, okay? Is there any agency or government, or is there any due process that a citizen, if they discover something after some time period like what has expired at this point, is there any avenue for them to offer up some type of petition for consideration at this point?
No, it's a vested right, unless they can show the meeting wasn't properly held in accordance with the Sunshine Law or otherwise. When this board acts and the time for appeals expire, it's a vested right that's been created.
Okay. Ms. Howard? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner
Yeah.
Johns, you recognize.
You've mentioned that there were 2 towers.
Mhm.
Now,
Yes, there are 2 now.
it's my understanding that in 2005, the board approved 1 tower, is that correct?
That is correct.
So then how did the other tower get there?
I'd have to let Mr. Schoen address that. I'm familiar with what his decision-making process was, but I would say that is up to Mr. Schoen to discuss to the board why he exercised his discretion in decision-making the way he did.
Is he
And my-
here?
My second question,
today, but Ms. Schultz is here.
Okay.
my second question to that is on this notarized document here that apparently is pointed out that it's all family members that have signed it. Isn't it illegal to have a family member notarize a document for a family member?
Not at all. I mean, there are notary standards. I mean, certainly if it's inuring to the benefit of them, but understand, even if the notarization is invalid, that doesn't invalidate the document itself. The effect of a jurat, which is the provision under Chapter 92 of Florida statute, where something is notarized, is what ultimately allows it to be recorded. Deeds don't actually have to be notarized in the state of Florida. They just can't be recorded if they're not. They do have to be witnessed. And family members witness all the time. Now, ideally, you would not notarize your own signature. You cannot do that. You would not notarize if it's a benefit. So perhaps, to your point, Commissioner, where we do see that issue come up is when a family member acts who is going to inherit under a will or similar document or a trust, and they execute as a witness or a notary because they have a potential interest in it. That is what the problem is.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, so, Ms. Schultz?
So back in February of this year, Mr. Carpenter was the director at the time. He did issue a development order for a temporary tower to go on the site to support, to keep this cell service running in South Walton for Verizon. It is temporary in nature, and then they immediately turned around and submitted a minor development order application to replace the existing tower. That was supposed to go to the Technical Review Committee a couple of weeks ago. I happened to be looking at the application, noticed where it was, asked to put it on pause until we had a chance to look into it. We are still looking into it. We've met with legal, And we're working on deciding how we're gonna move forward with that application. But there is an application to replace the existing tower, the permanent tower. Once the permanent tower comes down, the new one goes up, the temporary one will be removed from the property. There's not been a break in the use of that tower, so in some ways, I hate to use the word maintenance because they are taking one down and replacing it, but the February DO is what's gonna keep South Walton's Verizon service up and going, is the way I understand it.
Okay,
Just tear the tower down.
is that what you're pursuing?
Actually, on February the 14th, 2025, it was brought, they were trying to do a pre-development meeting for a residential development on that land, with the proposed project narrative of 60 to 70 homes. So, yeah, there's a lot of things, and then, like I said, and then they're wanting to change the zoning as well with,
That'll become a subject
with
of
the
a public
TRC
hearing
thing.
in the future.
But this happened on February the 14th, 2025. So, and that was assigned to Kristen White.
Okay. All right, so I haven't heard what the
This is my
what
green
motion.
space, calculated green space, that they're trying to now sell. They've got a cell tower
Okay,
on it.
Hold on, you've already provided your personal commentary. Now I need you to ask this board what motion that we can take, what action is it that you're requesting this board to do?
Stop all of this, the dealings with Sandestin DRI until it's in compliance. And it's not supposed to be, this is an architectural preserve, and it's not to have the cell tower on there to begin with. And there's just been a lot of fudging with a lot of paperwork. I've read so much, I've gone back and I've watched a lot of old meetings, and if I could find some stuff back in 2021, I can't, the meetings just don't exist online, I can't.
Okay.
Chair? Yeah. So, is this area supposed to be green space for I mean, I guess
Yes.
my question is, what can and can't be done on this space that evidently there's stuff on deck that apparently is trying to be put on this space?
Well, that's gonna be evaluated as those projects come before the Board of County Commissioners, before the TRC, and before the Planning Commission. I would hate to speculate on what can or can't be broadly, because that would be giving an advisory opinion to what someone can or cannot do that could be tantamount to a binding land use determination, which is something we don't do at this level, because you may ultimately be hearing it. Certainly is some type of land use approval.
Is this designated green space?
I'd have to defer to Ms. Schultz on if she can answer that. I believe it's designated open space within the DRI.
Yes, so the DRI, if you look at the DRI map, the entire 13 acres is identified as an archaeological preserve. So, so you've got that, put that in the parking lot for just a minute, and then look at the open space requirements under the DRI. That entire 13 acres, is counted as open space. Just full disclosure, as staff, we're going back, we're trying to get all of the old annual reports, we're trying to determine if that, just a little over 1/10 of an acre, that is the cell tower site, was ever drawn down from their open space, because as I'm sure you all know, as they develop, if open space is developed, they have to maintain a certain amount of open space. So as they draw down, the amount that's available is reduced. And they can't go below a certain threshold. So we're doing our due diligence on that. And if it hasn't been drawn down in the past, then in the next annual report, which is due in 2026, we are going to require that drawdown. Maybe it was done, I just haven't found it yet. So, but it is open space. It's no longer under the control of the DRI, but it is part of the DRI, despite some doubt of that.
Chair,
You recognize Ms. Jones?
thank you. First of all, the warranty deed that you provided us, it stipulates in there what that land can be used for, and it's very specific in what that land can be used for, and there's nothing about a cell tower on there. I do understand that in 2005, the board at that time approved the cell tower, it was my understanding. Haven't seen the documents on it, but that's what I've been told. I question how it can possibly be open space for Sandestin if it's not owned by Sandestin. And that's something that I would like to have us look into, because if it's, how do they control something they don't own?
I believe that was through the dedication agreement when it was originally dedicated to the county.
Well,
Did you have something?
the, Sandestin uses people's backyards and driftwood for, open space. I don't believe that's right, but that they do. But I mean, this tower was done 20 years ago. The only remedy I can see is tear it down. So if we don't like it, let's tear it down.
Well, it's a vested right. This board has to live with what its predecessors did.
Well, then we're gonna get sued. But I mean,
You may get sued either way in that scenario, because you have a vested right created by action of the Board of County Commissioners sitting in its official capacity in a publicly and duly noticed meeting that approved it. Now, I will say, I think we have to be very careful what we talk about on what Mr. Schultz has already said. There are further steps about the current permit application that are working through. That is a separate discussion that may or may not come before you. And so I think we need to be very careful about discussing a potential public hearing that's not noticed and not before you and affects the rights of the applicant or citizens that may be interested.
But it gets down, there's nothing we can do about that tower.
The one that was originally erected in '05, no, I do not believe you can today.
Well, and the one that's up there now, I mean, if we take it down without
I believe that's a
fixing the other
temporary
one-
permit.
Yeah,
Ms. Schultz, is that correct? That's a temporary permit? No, she's occupied.
Yes.
Ms. Schultz, the tower that was erected under Mr. Carpenter was a temporary use?
It was issued as a minor development order, as is the replacement tower. They're both minors.
Okay, well, there you go. They've already been approved.
so,
Well, the permanent one has not
It's on
yet been
hold.
approved,
It's on
but the
hold.
temporary one has been approved.
So, but again, that was my question, the temporary nature. Hold on, let's go back.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry,
Is it or is it not temporary?
it is.
but
The
the,
temporary
hold on.
one is not guaranteed forever. We have a permanent request. So, no, I'm not worried about the nature of the development order, Ms. Schultz. There is a temporary approval. How long does that last?
I can't answer that question. I didn't review the development order before I got here.
Well, the short answer is it can't last forever. They've got to go through the process. We can direct staff to give us an update on where they are with the permanent process. And while it is a minor development order, of course, there is a provision of our code that does give the planning director, if he believes an item is of sufficient concern, we've seen it recently, to up that matter from a minor to a major development for the purposes of board review. So perhaps they look at that. Let's give them a chance to do their job, though, is what I would say.
but the bottom line is if they take that tower down.
Hold on, Mr.
There's no
Brown.
cell service.
Hold on, Mr., good point, but hold on just a second. Mr. Osborne, I see your hand, but unless there's a motion on the floor, there's not an avenue for you to speak. But however, if you would like to consult with Ms. Howard and you want to ask his question to us, feel free while we're waiting in this other. Yeah, I can do that. Do we have that option?
The chair can expand the time for public comment, but the time for public comment is only after a motion.
Okay, but we don't have a motion.
Correct.
Okay.
He's welcome to give it during the 3 minutes. There's not a request on the floor is what I'm hearing.
Okay. I'm gonna try to be fair. Mr. Osborne, what do you have? But before you present that, Ms. Howard, I need you to ask us what the request is that you want the board
What is the
to
motion
do.
is
What is
we
the
need.
motion?
I can tell her what I think she wants.
Please do.
Okay, what she's saying is it's illegal, and here's why. It is open space. Your planning department declared open space in non-compliance in 2014. You have no current documents that put it back in compliance. If that statement is true, Florida statute 380-0617 in this letter written to the board says, you, the local government, is primarily responsible for monitoring the development and enforcing the provisions. Local government shall not issue any permits or approval or provide any extensions of services if the developer fails to act in substantial compliance with the development order. So since you're in non-compliance for open space, or the developer is, you're planning, you wouldn't be dealing with the tower had you followed the law and not taken his application until he was compliant. That's the same issue, basically, that, except it wasn't a DRI that you had with the garage the other day. Just drew a blank. Mr. Douglas. Because had they not issued any more permits for a workaround, had the enforcement occurred before planning services were reoffered, then you wouldn't have found yourself in that position. But you don't have a law. But in this case, unless the planning department can produce paperwork showing that they have remedied the open space finding from 2014, then you should not be providing any services per the law. No matter what your policy is, your policy can't override a law. And I believe what Ms. Howard is asking you to do, since that's part of her open space, and by the way, the road that accesses is also not in the traffic plan. So you can't even access it the way you are. So I was at that 2005 meeting, and they did not even know it was part of Sandestin. Go look real close. So what I believe is she's asking you is to not provide them the services for this tower until Sandestin comes into compliance. And that's not an issue for you to solve. It's for these, if they are Indians. And by the way, if they signed that deed, it's so they could collect rent. And that's the same as selling it and getting a benefit from it. So if they notarize something that they're going to receive a monetary benefit from, I think that's in question. But what's not in question is your 4 letters from the state law, and the fact that that's a DRI, and this temporary advertisement had nowhere in it that said DRI, just like those advertisements don't. So it's not even properly advertised unless it's advertised for the DRI. And I have other stuff, but I think that remedies her point, and I'll say that.
Mr. Chair, the agenda title is Request Full Review of Permitting of this Archaeological Reserve, 1939 Mac Bayou Cell Tower. That is the specific request that is before the board on the agenda. So if the board wants to direct staff to provide you a complete written review of those issues, you're welcome to do so.
What would that resolve?
It'd probably give you the exact same information you've already got today about how this came to be, but that's what's before you.
Which element of the law prevails? Okay, Mr. Osborne has presented Florida statute, I don't remember the number.
Sure.
You have presented a different statute regarding prior boards and vested rights, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if this were contested in court, what would be the prevailing outcome?
Well, I think the real simple issue here is Mr. Osborne's talking about something from 2014, and this permit was issued in 2005. So you're not going to get to go back and say, well, the 05 is set aside unless you'd have done it as part of 14. Now, first, and I want to also go ahead and say, Mr. Osborne keeps making a statement that we're non-compliant. There's still valid revised NOPC of 2017, and even if that was not valid, there's an initial NOPC of 2017 that addressed open space. I know that was hotly contested. I think Commissioner Glad was on the planning board when those open space issues came before the board back in late 2016 into 2017. So to say that they are not in compliance, that has not been determined by any court of law at this point in time. That is Mr. Osborne's assertion. It is his opinion. Perhaps one day that will be adjudicated, and perhaps one day it'll be adjudicated for him or against him. But ultimately, right now, there is not any determination that Sandestin is in non-compliance on open space. But to the point of, let's say they were in non-compliance in 2014, just hypothetically assume everything he told you is correct and lawful. This board in 2005 issued a development order for this site. It was not challenged, it therefore became a vested right to the applicant. Now, what we do with the next set of applications, those are things that planning is going to deal with. And Ms. Howard, Mr. Osborne, and every other citizen that has an interest in this one way or the other, including the applicant, by the way, who is a core party to any of these discussions, will have every opportunity for due process in a court of law if it gets approved or denied. But this board is not hearing any of those applications right now.
Commissioner Gladwell, you had something you were going to share about the cell phone tower?
I was just gonna point out, you take that cell phone tower down, there's no cell service in Miramar Beach. Just remember that.
Chair. Since I've been up here, I've heard Sandestin probably more times than I can shake a stick at. I just recently visited over there, and I watched, we haven't had rain forever, at least a couple weeks, and steady water flowing off of county roadways. I don't see any kind of filtering over there, running straight into the bay. This is what I want to do. I would like to see us make sure we're not doing
We do have to stay
anything.
on the agenda topic, though.
Okay, well, I mean, with this area, I would like to see, to make sure we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing, come to the top of the barrel so we can all see. All I hear Mr. Atkinson's side, I hear Alan's side, I hear Tabitha's side, I hear all these sides, and everybody has a good point, but we don't have anything substantial to say, okay, well, you know what? Clay's right. You know what? Alan's right.
Well, you have court
Tabitha's right.
judgments, with all due respect, Commissioner, that have, this matter's been litigated repeatedly, and no court of law has ever said Sandestin is out of compliance. There were appeals to the Florida Land and Water Adjudicatory Commission. There were appeals taken to, there were challenges to circuit court. There were multiple cases in 2017 that challenged this. None of those found them in non-compliance. So you say you have nothing to hang your hat on, with all due respect. If the matter has had an opportunity to be adjudicated in a court of law and it was not adjudicated adversely, to come back and say, nope, that doesn't matter, just not how the judicial system works. And there's obviously ample opportunity. And by the way, we still do have a case pending where the notice issues and an attempt to amend a complaint, as I've discussed before, to add open space and drainage requirements is set to go back before circuit court. So that matter is still pending in Walton County right now.
So why would we?
Hold on. Mr. Osborne. Sir, you don't have, you can't speak from there. If you like, all right, I'm gonna warn you. If you do this again, I'm gonna have to ask you to be removed. Mr. Osborne.
We've taken
I
this
just
much
want to
time
be clear
up.
here.
Hold
Hold on,
on.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Is everybody okay with how I handled that, or do you feel like it's okay for people to be able to yell from the audience?
You made me lose my train of thought, though.
I have a question.
But, I mean, is that what we want?
You were fine.
You're good,
That's fine.
Okay,
but I do have a question for Mr. Atkinson.
sure, we'll get there.
But that's all, I mean, we continue to entertain all aspects of this area over here. I don't know, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Clay, I really do, but we keep entertaining these subjects,
But they're gonna be
meeting
allowed to
after
sell.
meeting
Well, hold
after.
on.
Build houses.
Miss Howard, you hear him talking.
We keep entertaining like this stuff all the time, so I mean, I want full and utter clarity, and then I don't wanna see something come back 6 months later and we're in another lawsuit.
Well, Mr. Curry, state your motion.
Well, no, I just wanted what we just had, a discussion, a debate going back and forth, and, try to get some clarity,
But we're at that-
is it in compliance? He says yes, he says no.
Well, that's a
You know,
matter
so-
that can be adjudicated with a court of law. What I would say to you, Commissioner, very simply, is there's a pending lawsuit that may or may not ever get to that issue. If you're saying you don't ever want someone to file a suit, somebody can file a suit 100 times over.
And I get that, I understand.
But in 2017, an NOPC was passed by the Board of County Commissioners. An appeal of that was taken, both in circuit court and then ultimately to the Florida Land and Water Adjudicatory Commission by the SOA. Those matters were resolved. That NOPC came back and was revised. That is what has been challenged. At no time has a court of law entered an injunction against the provisions of the ordinance of the 2017 ordinance. At no point in time has a stay been issued against development. And those are things that can be asked for. I want to be very clear. Those can be petitioned for in a court. A judge has a right to enter those under certain legal and factual circumstances. But going all the way back to 2017, that's never happened. So where we sit today with that issue is we have a remand from the First District Court of Appeal that reversed summary judgment in the county's favor, which sends it back to the circuit court to have more proceedings. Maybe it's another summary judgment hearing, maybe it's a trial, could be a lot of outcomes, but it basically just sends the case right back to where the case started, when it was resolved and went to the DCA. But there is not an order entered right now that finds Sandestin in noncompliance, nor is there an order entered that stops Sandestin from doing anything under the revised NOPC.
But would it not be feasible or responsible, since we have this litigation out there, to just put some things on hold until? we find out?
Absolutely, it would be irresponsible to do that.
Really?
Because they have a vested right under that ordinance. If you said, I'm putting it on hold because this guy may be right, they come in and say, we had an ordinance, we said we were right, we litigated to the end of the time, they end up prevailing, that they were right all along, there's nothing on the books that says they were wrong, and that's the problem. If there was an issue right now, if there was a finding of noncompliance that the Board of County Commissioners had, okay, so let's flip this. If in 2017, the board had said we deny the NOPC and we hold Sandestin in noncompliance, let's say that's what passed. Now you're sitting up here and you're being asked by Sandestin, I know they said that 8 years ago, but we're doing better now. Let us pull a permit or two. My advice to you would be no. This board held them in noncompliance. They haven't overturned it until they demonstrate proof they are. You stick with what has been adjudicated and heard until it is overturned by a court of law when we're dealing with vested land use development rights. And so what I would tell the board is I believe that, and I certainly believe if you take any action here today to affect development rights on a non-noticed issue, you are absolutely in violation of Florida statute. We will have an injunction served on us, and I believe we'll have a Harris Act claim for substantial damages.
So I just want to get educated on that. I mean, you answered it.
Yeah, and we will be glad to, and if you would like us to do additional review of this issue, and what I would ask is that perhaps the board, in honor of Ms. Howard's request, simply require that planning complete a full.
Clarify what the permit should be for that land.
That's part of what I think you're saying here is the request is for a full review of permitting of this archaeological preserve. I would ask that the board, if you want to take action on what you said, ask that planning conduct a full review of the historical permitting on that back in '05, back in '24, and today, and before they process any other applications for that tower, they come around and meet with each of you to discuss where they are and what the direction is. That way, every one of you is fully briefed on it, and we go forward. I think that is a perfectly acceptable solution to address what's on the agenda today. But if we start getting into the DRI writ large, we're way outside of today's agenda.
Do we need a motion to that
No.
effect?
Ms. Schultz, do you understand that direction?
I believe so, but would you just repeat it on the
Planning is to conduct a full review of the permitting of the specific archaeological preserve site where the cell tower is located. That includes the 2005 application, the hearing before the Board of County Commissioners, the board's approval. It is similarly to include any references to this as open space or otherwise in the DRI at any point in time, the 2024 temporary approval, and to come brief the board on your findings about all of those issues before proceeding with the current process.
Okay, show that done. Mr. Kellenberger, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Number 12, request to appoint members to vacant or expiring seats on volunteer advisory boards and committees. Ms. King administers that program. She's here to help guide us through this seat appointments.
Good afternoon. We have several seats. We'll take Coastal Dune Lakes first, but before we take any of these, I'd like to put on the record that these terms will begin January 1st, 2026, rather than December 31st, as it states on these sheets.
Chair.
So
I got you.
the first board is Coastal Dune Lakes Advisory Board, and I think that we'll need 3 motions on that. Linda, if you'd like to come and present those.
We can do it as a slate, or we can appoint them individually. I'll defer to the board if you can have
Hold on,
consensus.
before we proceed, Ms. Jones, did you have a question?
I do. I have a request. I have not had an opportunity to look at all of these applications and to find out who they are on all of these different boards. And I don't think that we went out far enough or wide enough to get applicants.
How much time do you need?
A month.
Is there a motion, the chair would entertain a motion to postpone this process for
continue.
continued for 1 month.
Yes, I'd like to make I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
These terms go out December 31st, you put it off another month. I mean,
They can extend legally.
that's all we do is,
Well, this way we'll know and we'll make sure that. we
Make that as part of your motion, that all appointees will be extended until the board considers that at its second
Can I
meeting in
say-
January.
Sure, you recognize.
I have heard it and heard it and heard it. Somebody coming up here and say, I ain't had enough time. This was put out Thursday, correct?
Monday.
Monday. But I had enough time. You have a duty to come to this meeting prepared to act. And I don't believe that we need to put it off. We need to do what our job is.
Chair. My second part of that is that I don't think that we have gone out far enough or wide enough to ask for people to volunteer for these boards, and we're very limited on the number of people that have. I think that currently, what mechanisms do we have?
We utilize Facebook, Notify Me, and our email, and our website.
So I think that we can be a little,
Can we
explore a little
advertise it in
more.
the paper?
We can do that.
Put out a bat signal.
And maybe Mr. Kelly could also put something out.
Okay, is that for all of the appointees? So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Let's show for the record that your motion was amended to allow for the continuation of all persons their term until the second meeting in January.
So it's the second.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Nay.
Show the motion carries 4-1,
Thank you.
with Commissioner Glidewell voting nay. Okay? Tab 13, engineering. Mr. Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you. Item 13, this is a request for approval to award invitation to bid ITB number 2527 for the Driftwood Road and Ellis Roadway improvement projects to the lowest, most responsible bidder, RBM Contracted Services, in an amount not to exceed $3,743,685.62.
Request to move, request to award the ITB
Motion to
number
approve.
25 through 27. Moved by Commissioner Glidewell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show that adopted. Tab 14.
This is a request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign task order number 26-01 with Half Associates for the professional CEI services for Driftwood and Ellis Road in an amount not to exceed $447,541.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Glidewell, seconded by Commissioner John. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show that adopted 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Thomason?
Commissioners, our next item is a request to accept the recommendations of the Walton County Overdose Prevention Task Force Review Committee, and that is a committee that was selected by Holly Holt, and award the fiscal year 26 core program funding in the amount of $467,840.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor to approve, second by Commissioner Johns. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, is there public comment? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have before you what is effectively every single piece of property that is under contract by the county right now. We'll have a few different comments on a few of them, but we'll just start in order. First one on your agenda is a request.
Well, hold on, let me a second. Let me run through these. There was one that was, let's start with 21. That seems to be the one that has generated the most attention. Ms. Johns, you want to, or let's see, proceed with 21.
Okay, so this is a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign the closing documents for the purchase of the Alderberry property. As part of that motion, I would need a motion to also accept and ratify the county administrator's signature on the revised contract that basically set forth the new purchase price, which meets the two appraisals. So this has been reduced from its original ask to an amount that is equal to the midpoint of our two appraisals, and change the closing date to allow us to close before the end of the year. So what I'd be looking for with the board is a motion to either approve and authorize the chair to sign those closing documents and to ratify the contract, or to otherwise give me other direction or to deny. It's to the board.
Chair, may I had this under my name as well, and it was one item I have. I'd like to go ahead and present that before we make any motion or vote. Would that be all right with you?
I don't know that we can. Wait a
So,
minute.
so as a
Well,
practice.
I tell you what, what we'll do is we will vacate where we are now in this block agenda from 16 to 21. We will jump over Commissioner Curry for now. You have one item, and if it's pertinent to this discussion, then we will find that acceptable. So with the board's permission, we'll allow Ms. Johns to present 24.
And Chairman, as a matter of parliamentary procedure, you can entertain discussion on the closing documents before a motion, because under your ordinance, the board is required to consider all information that came back about the property before entering into the actual closing documents. So this is actually the board's chance to consider the appraisals, surveys, anything like that. So
Okay.
based on your ordinance, you do have a little more leeway, but I agree with the way you just handled that would be sufficient to let her make her presentation.
Okay, yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
come back to the block. Mr. Johns, you recognize.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What I am asking from the board and the community is that we recognize a problem that we have, and the problem is that District 4, the parks are not meeting the population growth that demands that we have right now. Our land development code states that we should have 6.45 acres of green space for every 1,000 residents. We don't have that. According to Belcor, it's projected in 2026 that District 4 will have about 3.43 acres per 1,000 residents, which is nearly a 28% decrease since '23. District 4 is 18.9 miles, obviously the smallest district in all of the county. There is not one single county building in District 4, not one. No senior center, no community center, no meeting center, absolutely nothing other than some bathrooms. A recent TDC marketing study of over 1,000 participants raised the following needs: quality of life, 2/3 felt that it's insufficient; a lack of cultural and community character, 57% are concerned; overcrowding of beaches and public spaces, 88% concerned. Residents indicate they would like more space for paddleboarding, kayaking, hiking, and water sports, approximately 40% of the people. According to the president of South Walton Little League, who spoke earlier, there are 630 registered kids for basketball in South Walton. And as he pointed out, there are 281 in Freeport, 214 in Defuniak Springs, and 90 in Paxton. That's a lot of children that want to play basketball, and that's just one activity. There's also baseball and soccer and lacrosse and everything else that we don't have the facilities for. Currently, based on the number of kids involved in sports, many are unable to play because they just don't have the facilities to do so. And currently, we don't have a community pool on the south end, and children are being transported from our county into Okaloosa County for that purpose. And according to a representative of the Seacoast School, children all over the county are being, from the north and middle and south end of Walton County, they're going over to Okaloosa County for swimming, and they're going over to Bay and Okaloosa County to play ball, because we don't have the facilities here in Walton County. How do we address this problem? We can't build a community complex if we don't buy the property. We have an opportunity to purchase 92 acres along the Choctawhatchee Bay, as you can see on the screen. It's beautiful property. It's located at the intersection of Alderberry Road and Eagle Bay Lane, extending north to the bay. It truly is absolutely stunning, stunning property. It has 1,550 plus feet of waterfront on the bay. Approximately 65 acres are available for development. The remaining wetlands, which is about 23 acres, should be retained as natural environment sanctuary to help our entire community. We have a tendency to mitigate wetlands. I don't want to mitigate those wetlands. We need those wetlands. They're very important for our ecosystem. And so how can we use these 92 acres? We can use it for basketball, pickleball, volleyball, tennis, fishing, water sports, canoeing, wave runners, boating, fitness center, aquatic center, paddle boarding, sailing. We have a beautiful bayfront. We just don't have enough access to it. That is the problem. Government and community hub may include county events, corporate events, public and cultural events, senior community hub, voting precinct, which we desperately need, especially when the houses that are going to be built will be built, and an emergency facility where they can have a distribution center, a lot of access in that area, which there's a lot of people that live around there, and that would be a nice location to be able to service the people from. Benefits of this complex can satisfy several interests. And one of the other main points to this is Alderberry Road. The county is currently working on a road that goes from Goldsby to East Hewitt Road. The Alderberry is an extension of East Hewitt, so that would almost make a middle bay road, which would alleviate the congestion on Highway 98. And we're hoping there's a possibility to extend that to Church Street. That would be a huge plus for the south end of the county, and a lot of people wouldn't have to be on Highway 98 if they didn't want to be. Funding source, how are we going to pay for this? Luckily, the property has been priced at $20,250,000 for the 92 acres, and that is the middle between the two appraisals. There are $8.4 million currently earmarked. $1 million is from preservation funds. $1 million is from beach vending funds. $2.4 million is the money that was allocated for a senior center for South Walton in District 4, and $4 million for reserves, which leaves a total of $11,875,000 that we need. And I would ask that we are able to take that from the transfer station fund, which currently has $20 million in it. So that would pay for the entire property, the 92 acres, which would be benefit not just to South Walton, but all of Walton County. And opportunities for recouping our funds, exploring grants, and Triumph funds. There's a possibility for that, especially with an aquatic center. And I realize that this is not something that's going to happen overnight. I realize this is a long-term investment, and we don't even realize all the things we need today. We know that we have a deficit right now, but if we don't do something now, we're going to have a deficit from here on out. We can lease the property in a public-private partnership. There are some people that have reached out that would like to discuss the possibility of putting in possibly a marina that they would lease the property from us and they would develop, and some ball fields, which they would lease the property from us and they would develop and they would run. We would also have the possibility to rent out the convention center, the hub, for special events. And there are a lot of other activities that we could be, fishing pier. If we had a fishing pier, we could reap some funds from that. There are a lot of different areas. So the pros, purchasing the property doesn't solve the immediate green space shortfall, but it does establish a starting point. It creates a county-owned facility in District 4, which we don't have. It addresses the county's land development code threshold of adequate green space. It improves the quality of life for the residents and the visitors. It creates jobs. It provides a revenue stream from the use fees. The tax revenue, if they're traveling ball teams, the tax revenue from the restaurants, hotels, shopping, gas, to name a few. It provides an opportunity to have a South Walton location for the emergency management, as I mentioned, for staging area, point of distribution, disaster recovery center. I'm almost finished. The cons, if we don't do this, how do we solve this problem? With few facilities in our county, travel ball teams are going to other counties where they spend their money. As our population continues to grow, South Walton will fail to meet our community needs for recreation and gathering areas. And I just want to say that since this morning, I have received, before I got here, and I know there have been a lot since then, I've received a ton of emails, 2 that were against it, and all the rest were for it. And everyone was very happy to see that we're looking at having some Bay Area and some area where people can gather. And I don't know about you, but I think it's great when kids play ball rather than sit on their phones all day, and to give them an opportunity to go inside to play sports if they need to, if the weather's bad. You know, we always ask people to come here and enjoy the beach, and sometimes they'd like something a little more. And this gives us an opportunity to offer that much more. And I think that it would be remiss of us not to jump on this opportunity, especially since the price has been reduced to the middle section of the appraisals. We've missed some opportunities already. As most of you know, we had an opportunity with the golf garden, and we have 320 plus apartments almost finished over there now. We did get the back 10 acres, which we are very thankful for. And then we also missed the Pennington property, which is 10 acres on the Gulf. And when it first sold, it sold for $18 million. And if we'd have bought it then, that'd been great. But by the time it got to us, it was $48 million. So that was quite a lot. But, and just know, I'm not asking for any TDT dollars or anything like that. But the area, the district I'm in, the TDT tax that was brought in totaled $10,941,528.24. I mean, it brings in a lot of money, and it continues to bring in a lot of money. It's a very busy 18.9 square miles. We've got a lot packed in there with not one single county-owned building, not one. And I think that it's our obligation, our duty, to save some space per our land development code. We're supposed to have green space for our community. We can't continue to pack people in like sardines and build monster house after monster house and expect people to just walk to the beach and that's their only outlet. I think that this is a golden opportunity, and I ask that my fellow commissioners would see it the way that I see it, and the need that we have with all these children that need a place to play. And I think that this is a great opportunity, and I hope that you will join me in voting for this. And I would like to make a motion that we do purchase this property.
So Commissioner Johns has made a motion to purchase the property. Is there a second?
Can there be any discussion
Well, now,
amongst the
because
board?
of the way we've done it, we need a second for discussion.
I found this on the web.
There's no second? No second?
So there is no second, so the motion fails.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Along those, let me offer some comments. Commissioner Johns, I know this is your passion project, and I enjoy seeing that. I would like to find a way to get you where you want to be, and you've described a lot of things in concept of things that could potentially exist, partnerships that could potentially develop, developments that could potentially come together. There's a lot of things that could potentially happen. I'm just nervous about not having everything drawn out on paper as to what that looked like. A lot of the neighbors' concerns are, you know, I think everybody likes the charm, they like the nature, they like the preservation aspect, but I don't think your neighbors are really excited about the unknown and what that looks like to that piece of property. But I would work with you to the extent that I can within the sunshine on maybe working with advocacy groups like the Nature Conservancy, with other not-for-profits, even those that are for-profit that would maybe enter into a P3 type relationship, or maybe working with the state or the feds on closing opportunities. I'm just a little bit nervous about unleashing $20 million when once we get the property, then we have to do stuff with it. And then along with that, there are costs in making those enhancements. So I don't condemn your project. I like where it's going. I like what I saw. I want more preservation opportunities, but I think we need to have a more visible and a tighter plan on what that looks like, and then where maybe those funding opportunities can occur. I hope that is at
Well,
least somewhat encouraging.
Well, I'd like to say that I didn't see the value in going to all the trouble to do that without buying the property. So you've got to have the property before you can get anything done. And I don't know what you mean about the neighbors, because all of these emails came in today, and these are only half of what's on my thing. And these are all, I'm writing to express my strong support. Every single one of these is expressing their strong support. And I am absolutely astonished that you all have felt that 92 acres on the bay, when I had 8.4 million already earmarked for it, so $12 million for 92 acres on the bay is too much of an ask. I just am absolutely, I just cannot believe that this is for the children of this community, the citizens of this community. Every single person that I spoke to, they wanted to have bay access, just to walk along the bay, just to be able to get in a boat, a paddle boat, do a little fishing, something. And we don't have, as you know, we don't have enough bay access. We don't. Cessna Landing is a mess. We don't have the ability. And if you all aren't willing to make this purchase, then I feel sorry for the kids of this community, because you basically told them, I don't care that you don't have anywhere to play ball, because I can tell you that the schools are not allowing the kids to play over there outside of the school time. They're just booked, they're full, there's just so much. We've got all these children out there that want to play ball, and you guys have just single-handedly destroyed that.
Chair.
Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Curry, you recognized.
Thank you. Okay, so I listened to all the funding. I would have loved to have seen that same passion when we were trying to lower the millage rate.
We did
for
lower the
all
millage rate.
Chair? Can I finish?
Yeah, please, if we will, let's maintain decorum.
All right. So, we couldn't find $1 million 8 weeks ago. Couldn't find $1 million to lower the millage rate. But now all of a sudden, on this agenda, we're looking at $34 million, not counting the TDC, which is a different coffer, on purchasing. I heard how the property tax was out. We got to hold back, or the property tax is coming. SB 180, I can't remember everything that was there, but those were all the reasons why we couldn't lower the millage rate to the now Chair Drake's 3.5. Wow is a good word, because I'm wowing right now. We do have Helen McCall that is having some extensive renovations with ball fields. And when you suggested Cessna Landing issues and all that, I'm sorry to bring you up, Commissioner Anderson, but when I had that property in Freeport with Gulf Front or Bayfront, and it was basically cleared, ready for everything, the comment was $10 million is a little bit too much for some ball fields. So we need to be a little bit more conservative. If we're gonna use the reasons that we don't know where we're gonna spend all this or get this money from to spend all this, then we can't just, getting a check or taking money from a transfer. To me, the transfer station fund, and after I thought about it, if you're gonna start using that transfer station, then there's 5 commissioners and 5 districts up here that probably needs to be split into equally. We've been wanting to do something with an ag center at the north end forever, and I just heard that you wanted to take all the beach share vending money out of that one. I think that's a prime opportunity to help the north end of the county out with the ag center. We have nonprofits that I've been trying to work on to try and find so it doesn't take out of the general fund. I think that's another avenue to it. So there's a lot of things going on in this county, and 8 weeks ago we were broke. We didn't have money. And now all of a sudden, I don't know whose mattress that they looked under and found $34 million, but I'd like to go check some other mattresses, to be honest with you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gladwell, you recognize.
You said 8 weeks ago.
Well, whatever, the budget, the final budget.
I think it was 3 months ago, but irregardless of when it was, I distinctly remember a citizen standing right there at that podium and asking about that transfer money. And I'm pretty certain all 5 of us made a promise that we would not go into that transfer station money. And now 4 months later, we're just gonna say, oh, sucks to be you? That's wrong. And I gave my word I wouldn't do that, and I'm not gonna do it. And so if you wanna know where you lost me at using transfer money. Because we promised the citizens of this county we would not do that. And now you're talking about doing it. And I will not vote to use that transfer money in this budget year for anything, because we promised people we wouldn't do it. And that's where I'm at on this.
Okay, just for the record, we did drop the millage $3.5 million, and the transfer station has $20 million in it, and we're not building a transfer station, so there you go.
It's not about what we're going to build, it's about what we promised the people.
Well, I thought you were gonna use it for some of the stuff up here, but
I'm not gonna do it or use it for anything, because we promised we would. I mean, it is, if I think the citizens.
Hold on. Let's don't talk over each other. We're gonna put ourselves under the same rules that we asked the public. Commissioner Gladwell, are you finished?
I was just gonna say, I think the citizen is that we promised is here, and if they wanna reveal that, that's their business.
Commissioner Johns?
I just want to say that I feel terrible for the community, just terrible for the entire community.
Any other comments? Okay, Commissioner Curry, would you like to do your commission items now, or would you like to come back to them?
While we're in the land mode, you want to do the rest of the land mode, or whatever your choice is, Chair.
Go ahead. You're recognized for tab 2.
Then if we're going to do that, let me just go ahead and state for the record, Madam Clerk, please show for the record that the motion died for lack of a second, and accordingly, that pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 3, Section 8-2 of the Walton County Code of Ordinances, the closing documents were rejected without amendment, and therefore the contract is canceled. And that is tracking the language of the ordinance.
Okay, Commissioner Curry, you recognize.
Yeah, this is more so towards workshops, because I did send out an email, and I did speak with Brian a little bit about having some kind of, to me, a workshop is a little different than a BCC meeting, because you're wanting the citizens to have more input, hence the name workshop. And I just want them to have that opportunity. So I don't know what that would look like, and I asked Brian what we could do. And I think if he has a couple words that he wants to put in there, because I don't think officially we have a workshop policy or procedure. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, and could you reiterate what you were telling me the other day?
Right, so we have a very defined set of BCC meeting rules and policies and procedures. We don't have that same document for workshops. Typically, we've had them in the form of what I call a town hall format, moderated by either, if it's a TDC workshop, by department head. If it's a BCC workshop, typically moderated by the chair of the board. So we can certainly put together a set of rules and regs for workshops if you'd like. It's been recognized that if it's a BCC workshop, that the meeting rules we have, we go to those by default. But certainly workshops are different than regular business meetings.
And
So
would
let me
that,
offer some-
I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go
Well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, because that's kind of an oddball, the TDC, BCC, because well, we've had 3 total.
Yeah.
So that's really the main one that I was kind of in question, but then, you know, I'm like, okay, well, there's other workshops that could benefit from this as well. And that's just, well, I guess what I'm asking the board, can we give some kind of direction to maybe bring back something later on workshops? But I'm sorry, Chair, go ahead.
So let me offer this. The point of any of these meetings, the purpose, the point of any of these meetings, whether it's an official BCC meeting, whether it's a TDC meeting, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a public workshop on beach renourishment, whether it's a public workshop on beach chairs and access and all that, the purpose is to drive content. We want to have a governing structure that works fairly, equitably, smoothly. We want things to go in place so that our friends, our family can enjoy our county and abide by the rules, so that our guests that come here, that pay a lot of money to stay here, we want them abiding by the rules. So we have these meetings to kind of put together those policy articulations. Here's what I would suggest. If we use the structure that we use for BCC meetings, you have guardrails, you have time limitations, but the chair always has the ability, if I see that the conversation should flow differently, and that maybe that person was getting, if they were presenting something and they were there was a lot of meat on the bone, and they were providing content that we had never heard before, it was substantive, it was relevant, it was factual. If it's meeting all those elements, I'm gonna continue to ask for more. And in every meeting that I have chaired, when we have those situations where someone's making a point here, or someone is making a point here, and we're digging more information, just like we did earlier on the archaeological discussion, okay? We didn't shut that down. We allowed that tennis ball to go back and forth, and I feel like that I moderated that fairly, and we got through it, and we got content out of it. The reality is, and I understand this discussion, but and I can tell you this with certainty, what I'm hearing and getting feedback on is that from the general public, there is an interest in us conducting our meetings a little more professionally, a little more orderly, a little more structured, less akin to a political rally, less akin to, you know, something that gets personal, or if it's a venue just designed to draw likes and clicks on Facebook, okay? as chair, one, I want to thank each of you for selecting me and nominating and selecting me to be the chair to oversee these meetings. I'm trying to do the best I can. I promise you, if we are in a discussion, whether it's here in a formalized, publicly noticed meeting where we're conducting business, I'm going to be as fair as I possibly can. If you're still trying to dig information or abstract, trying to pull out things from other participants that are relevant to the discussion, I want you to be able to do that, and I want you to trust that I can do that. I do want to underscore, I want to get away from that other style of meeting that may have been a little more loose. I want to be tight, I will be fair, and I promise you, if there's, you know, if we're in the middle of a discussion, somebody runs out of time, we do it all the time. We're like, I want to hear more about that, and, you know, please tell us. And it works well. I think if we formalize something, then it gives me less of an ability to do that. But I want you to know what you want to accomplish is what I want to accomplish.
Well, I just wanted to, you know, and I'm sure everybody has a bad day, but it just, the appearance of folks at the podium and the consistency of 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5, it was almost like we weren't wanting to listen to what the folks were saying at the podium.
No,
and I get it if you want to cut it off at 3 minutes and cut it off at 3 minutes. But I mean, I went back and reviewed that after I got a few phone calls. I just kept reviewing it, and you just kept looking at the clock. And I'm not meaning any disrespect. I'm just telling you what the folks said. And that's why I was just trying to do something with the workshop to maybe give a little bit more leeway in a workshop. You run the meetings the way you want to run the meetings. You're the chair. Just like you told Barbara that if she wanted to do that, then she should have ran and won the election, and then she'd be up here. So it's your position. You run it whatever you want. I'm just suggesting if there was a way that we could do something a little bit more laxed on the workshop type situations. But it's totally your ballgame, sir.
Okay, the reason that I pointed out what the time limitations were, or what was remaining, was as a courtesy. Because if you're articulating an argument and you're trying to make a point, you've got 15 seconds to say that last little punch. I offered them that courtesy that, hey, listen, time's about to expire. If you've got something down in your belly that you want to drive home, I'm letting you know as a courtesy that you've got that much time. And trust me, I heard from people too, the ones that said that was rude or that they didn't like that. But I can tell you overwhelmingly, people were like, thank you for setting the tone and making sure that everyone understood that we were moving into a professional meeting henceforward. And that's all I want to do. At the end of the day, however we do that is fine. You've empowered me the ability to conduct and oversee these meetings. I'm going to do it the best way that I know how. But also, if there's nothing else that you take away from this, is that I want to get that done fairly. And oftentimes, it becomes unfair when these walls are turned into a political rally and it becomes all about someone's campaign for office. I think that's inappropriate for the confines of this structure. I think it's unlawful, and I just think it's unprofessional. So if you're upset that I'm trying to control the Jerry Springer style atmosphere, I promise you're in the minority.
No, I just wanted to see if there was a little bit, a little bit more leeway in a workshop setting, since that's another thing. Can we just have the phones not up here on, period? That means no texting under the bar, no picking out ball game. I mean, that's so disrespectful. I mean, never mind. If we don't want to do anything, you want to run the show the way you want to run the show, then run the show the way you want to run the show. I'm good with it.
Commissioner Anderson, do you want to take a 10-minute break or 15-minute break?
Yeah.
All right, we'll stand in informal recess until 3:45.
2:45.
Commissioner Curry, did you want to,
Now, we
finish
can
with
move on. We
23?
can move on to the next one, Chair.
number 23?
Yes, sir. This right here, I don't know if Mr. Brandon's here.
Yes, yeah, Scott's here.
Hey, Scott. I just, after, we listened to our lobbyists, we had them come in there and we had that discussion about not getting any kind of updates throughout the year, so on and so forth. I wanted to, and I talked to Scott a little bit about having a presence here when it comes to legislative items, state, federal. Either he or the lobbyists come and present to us at least every quarter, if not whenever there is a legislative item that is basically pointing right at our county and affects us one way or the other. So, Scott, if you want to take the reins on there and kind of say what we were talking about?
Yes, sir. To Scott Brandon, for the record, Director of Governmental Coordination. To Mr. Curry, Commissioner Curry's concerns, I think when we just recently passed the new contract with Heffley and Associates, as part of that contract in Exhibit A under Scope of Services, I'll read the following. It says, in that contract, they're to provide weekly legislative updates during the session, including bill tracking, hearing schedules, and key developments affecting the county and the TDC. Along with that, after session starts, it calls for providing monthly reports during the interim period summarizing lobbying activities, legislative trends, and emergent opportunities and threats. The other thing that the contract calls for is the comprehensive post-session report that Ms. Heffley delivered here recently a couple months ago, and that's the other thing. So I think with the new those changes in the new contract, it'll call for those things. Session starts January the 13th. So we're ready to provide that information to you, and I can get with each of you and see how you'd like to receive those reports, those briefings, and we'll certainly deliver those.
Well, it would be nice to have, like you're up here right now, if they would maybe feed you the information,
Okay.
or they could come themselves and just kind of, so the public can hear,
Right.
we can hear it all at the same time. I don't care if you want to come to us separately as well, but I think what you're doing right now is a good step in the right direction. And that's with the federal lobbyists and the state lobbyists.
I think it's a good idea.
So,
Yes, sir.
I mean, if I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if I need a motion or just direction.
It's in our contract, so we're prepared to carry that out.
Yeah, it's general direction to him, and it's already in the contract. We made sure that we added some additional language there to reflect what was requested from the board under their last contract. It was not memorialized in writing when we renewed this, and they agreed to all those terms.
Okay.
So it's general direction to the county administrator and Mr. Brannon, and then the lobbyist is under contract with them.
So we'll at least see you or somebody at that podium to give us an update 4 or 5 times a year at least?
Yes, provided the monthly reports we can do during the session. This are about to start in January, and then there'll be the post wrap-up, yes.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, and as things are going through committee and then through session, the ones that are, hot to us particularly, we'll make sure you have that information so that you can talk to your constituents and also talk, amongst with us. And if we have to have any strategy other than what we already have to convey to our lobbyists to promote our interests, we'll do that.
Sounds good to me.
And to that point, I know at the last meeting, there was some House Bill 299, Senate Bill 354, and some others legislation that's existing now. We made our lobbyists aware of those based on they're in subcommittees now. So we'll watch those and monitor them.
I just don't want another sneak attack like an SB 180 that
Yes, sir.
we get caught off guard on, so I mean, I
Well,
think knowing too much is way better than not knowing enough.
Yes, sir, and each of you know the FAC legislative, the efforts there through Small County Coalition, the FAC's organization will monitor some of this stuff as we go through too, so we'll provide that information as well to help supplement it.
Mr.
So-
Chair.
You're recognized.
Just speaking about Senate Bill 180, because that's an outlier, because the guts of that, or the things that really hurt us, came up like 2 or 3 days before the session ended, and everybody was caught flat-footed. Everybody, I mean, every lobbyist and every government advocacy group in Tallahassee was caught. So, I mean, the normal stuff, I think, what you're talking about doing, we'll catch. But things like 180, we're not gonna catch, because nobody caught them. I mean, that got snuck through. It was a sneak attack.
And I think obviously FAC, one of their big priorities this year is restoring the home rule and addressing that issue that was lost with Senate Bill 180, so.
Yep.
Question, yes, sir.
That was easy.
Scott, ma'am, you raised your hand, that you were the one that I was asking about a couple of bills. Could you get with her, or had you rather do it?
Yes, I will, yes, sir, I'll get with it.
She has some concerns, and so do we, so.
Okay.
After talking with her, at the next meeting in the TNAP, please report back to us or call each one of
Yes,
us.
sir. Yes, sir.
She had some very concerned issues that were concerning us too, so, if you would get with her and talk to her and bring it back to us at the next meeting and explain what was going on, okay?
Yes, sir, I'll do that, thank you. Is that it? Thank you.
Is that good with you, ma'am?
Commissioner Gladwell, do you have anything?
Nothing except Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Commissioner Anderson?
Same thing, Merry Christmas to everybody, be safe. This is the time of year when, accidents seems to happen more frequently, so please drive safe, watch out for your neighbor, everybody's out shopping, and, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Commissioner, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
I did have, just to bring everybody's thoughts and prayers to a couple of commissioners. There was a Suwannee County Commissioner who passed away last week, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 2 weeks before he passed. And then Commissioner Bennett in Baker County was on his way to work in Jacksonville and ran up on a wreck on I-10, stopped for the wreck, and was rear-ended by a 16-year-old kid on that didn't even hit his brakes. So both of those counties had lost commissioners last week, and just remember them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. All right, let's move back into the land block. We'll go to tab 16.
Thank you. Item 25-1641, this is a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign the closing documents for the purchase of the Bennett properties. I'll let Mr. Kellenberger or Ms. Thomason, whoever feels prepared to address. I will note for the record, the two appraisals, midpoint came in approximately $8.3 million. Melissa will have that exact number, I think. That is below the contract purchase price of $12 million. To proceed, it will require 4 out of 5 of you, a supermajority vote.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
You're recognized.
Maybe to cut to the chase, could I ask my fellow commissioners if y'all have any interest in purchasing this property? Not talking about the price, just do y'all want to buy it?
Mr. Chair.
You're recognized.
I just think right now it's just tough to buy. You know, I'm for the golf property, but we just don't have the money and the you know, the knowing what's going to happen in the next 4, 5, 6 months to obligate this kind of money, not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, to your benefit, I think you wanted to use that land for ball fields and stuff up there. To which I've been on the fence all week on this, about $2.9 million for 384 acres by an already established recreational center. So, you know, if I was going to say yes, I would say that would probably be the best spot. But right now, I'm a no on all this except for the TDC, because I just don't like the uncertainty on the money.
Mr. Chair?
You're recognized.
Seeing not a lot of great interest, would it be appropriate to give direction to Mr. Adkisson and Mr. Kellenberger maybe to go back, see if they can at least get a better price? Would that be acceptable?
Sure, we can always negotiate.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
So we would need, so let's do this. Apologize. Let's do this. Let's have a motion to request us to negotiate a lower price, either below at or hopefully closer to appraised value, and to so amend the closing document to return it. Your ordinance requires accept, reject, or amend, so I need the word amend in the motion.
Instead of going through the same exercise on the golf course area, can we include that in the motion to negotiate a better price on that as well?
There isn't, hold your thought there,
All right.
please, sir.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we authorize y'all to renegotiate it,
And bring you amended closing.
amend the closing.
I'll second.
So now this would just come back for us to do this all over again once we get a lower, or another price?
If they want to negotiate,
I
they
got
may
you.
not want to negotiate.
So the way it works under your ordinance is that if the seller's given an opportunity to accept an amendment, which will be negotiated, and if accepted, we come back before you. Closing won't proceed because the amount hasn't been set, so you'll still have to vote on it. If he says, no, I'm not interested, we let the board know at a public meeting where we stand, and you can accept or reject then. So it comes back to you at another board meeting.
All right.
And we will aim for that to be in the north end of the county.
So we'll withdraw number
No,
16?
no, we have a motion and a second.
So renegotiate.
Okay.
This is item 16. This is the approximate, or just shy of 700 acres in North Walton County, adjacent to US Highway 331.
Do we have, any longer, do we have professional representation that would qualify as a realtor that would negotiate with us?
We do not. We don't have a realtor on staff or consultant.
Would it be prudent to get one?
That's up to this board. The board has previously terminated a realtor, so I'll defer to the board.
There you go, John.
I mean, I'll defer to Mr. Kellenberger if he feels uncomfortable negotiating. We know what our appraised value is. We know it takes 4 votes to go over it. It's a pretty straightforward back and forth, in my opinion, but I'll defer to the board if they want to have someone. You have the option under the ordinance of engaging a real estate professional.
Mr. King, you want a job?
Eliminates one director.
All right, so what
Chair.
motion do we have? You're recognized, Commissioner Jones.
I'd like to ask a question. I think there's a motion and a second on the floor. So, in this particular property, is there utilities at that property
Some.
On the front on 331.
on the front? Okay. And what about, how much of it is wetlands?
You know those numbers.
I'd have to go back and look at the environmental assessment we did. But the land is, being as big as it is, there is several areas that would have development restrictions on them, so to speak. We've not done a full-blown development report of it. We
But
did
you
it in-
would do that before there was any vote to
If
purchase?
the land is purchased, you know, we've done what we call an environmental assessment. It's done in-house. We don't hire a company to come do it. We have people on staff that are perfectly capable of doing that. You know, once we acquire property, we go through a development order process that any developer would go through. We determine what we want to build on it. Right now, we have an idea, it's ball fields, and we would seek professional guidance on what we can do, where we can do, and to how big we could do it on there. Obviously, we don't need 600 acres for our need right now, but that's the offer of sale.
So we have, you want to restate the motion?
So the motion would be to direct the county administrator and county attorney to negotiate with the seller to see a reduction in purchase price, and so amend the closing documents and return them to the board.
And there was that was made by Commissioner Glidewell and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Is there any or is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, we have public comment. Ms. Morano. Madam Clerk, for the record, Barbara Morano, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just as Commissioner Johns gave us all the information where she was getting the money, what it was going to be used for, I know this is not pertinent to the motion you made, but let's save some time. Let's not do any more reindeer games. We need to know what this is going to be used for, where is the money coming from. Gus Andrews' son is the realtor. How much % is he going to make on this deal?
0. He confirmed today he's not taking commission.
That's
And I
good.
have that in writing.
Well, I'm glad, that's good. But we need to know a little bit more about the property, what it's being used for, where the money's come from. If it is a sports facility, I did send out some information. There was a consultant that did the pros and the cons to this particular, or to any sports facility going up north. I don't want to use any more time, but I really do think we need some more information on this property before we go any further. Thank you. That was 2 minutes.
All right. Ms. Harris? And then ma'am, you in the back, and then Alan, and then you.
Listen, I'd like to know where the money's coming from. Before I go out and buy a car or house or a rental place, I always know where I'm getting my money. But nothing I hear today tells me, because the last time Tony Anderson made a wonderful point. This county is going to go bankrupt if y'all lose that beach lawsuit. We have to know, the citizens deserve to know where the money's coming from. Is it going to be, that's why I asked you today when you came in, do you have a matrix showing each piece of property, where the money's coming from, how much the interest will be? I mean, I can't just go to my husband and say I need a new car and here's what I want. And he's going to say, well, how much is it? And here's where the money's coming from. You can do without this and have the car. But we don't get those kind of facts. Y'all just come up here and y'all talk about property and spending $22 million or $20 million or $12 million or $4 million. If we don't have any money to lower the millage rate just a few months ago, and I'm a real conservative Republican, and if we didn't have $1 million that we could lower the millage rate a little more. But today, we have money for all these properties. Or if we don't have money for all of them, how much is the interest rate if we borrow? How much, what's the terms of the loan? I mean, somebody has to financially represent these people and tell us and tell them whether it's a good property, is it a good, do we have the money to buy it? And if we do buy it, do we have the money to build on it? Or will it be sitting there 15 years, just like the Foreman property? Will it just sit and we never do anything with it? We just got to stop this. Y'all need a financial advisor that comes to y'all and tells y'all and gives you recommendations on whether you can do something and whether you can afford to do it or whether you really can't afford to do it. So where's the money coming from for this property?
Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, I'll just go ahead and run through kind of what I've been looking at on my end in relation to all of these properties.
You recognize.
I just want just this property, since we're not to anything else, just this one.
Well, it's hard for me to do just this one when we see the whole list of properties, and I on my end have to look at, okay, if they approve number 18, that's $40,000, I'm sorry, but if they approve the entire slate of properties, that's a whole lot more. You approve one, there could be funding we could find within the existing budget, within just the existing funds that we have, but if you do all of them, then we're gonna have to go out for financing. And I did talk to our financial advisor, and he advised the interest rates right now, you know, they're all over sometimes, but roughly 4%. But for this property right here, I will tell you, we have got $1 million in preservation. I don't know that that could be used for this property specifically, but if there is any portion that could be, there is $1 million there.
Okay.
As Ms. Johns spoke of, the beach vending, there's $1.2 million that has not been allocated out of that beach vending funding that's available this year. And then we've got $4 million that's basically residual funding. We're in the middle of the audit right now. Some of the larger chunks of revenues come at the tail end of the year, and so we're seeing about $4 million in residual funding once we close the books. That's a conservative number, but I can see that. So that's kind of what I have been looking at over the last couple of weeks.
So I'm all for ballparks for kids. You know, every time we talk about the golf course closing or this place or that place, or a team comes up here begging y'all for money, I'm the first one to write them a check. I'm all about the kids having a place to play, because the north end doesn't have they don't even have a movie theater. They don't have a bowling alley, which nobody uses anymore, or a skating rink. They actually have nothing. Our end has more than anybody has. But I still can't figure out why we couldn't have lowered the budget if today we have all this money. Why didn't we talk about taking where all this money is now and taking it out at that time? And thank you. And Brad, I am going to, we don't agree very often. You've run a great meeting today.
Thank you. That was on the record. All right, let's pull up tab.
What we got?
Oh, wait, still got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi.
Got confused.
Lisa Hughley. I just wanted to introduce myself first, but I have a question regarding the Bennett property. The contract states Gus Andrews. The Bennetts still own this property. So who is it that you're going back and actually,
We'll be addressing it. We understand Mr. Andrews has a contract on the property. The closing documents provided the board reflect that Bennett, the Bennett Limited Company, is who would have to execute that transaction. We will be speaking to both Mr. Andrews, who has it under contract, as well as Mr. Bennett, who we've been dealing with this whole time on these. So we'll be speaking with both
do
representatives.
you know how much the contract is that Gus Andrews has
I do
on the
not.
property?
No, ma'am, I
And
don't.
how much they're turning around and selling it?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. So he's really wholesaling it to the county, correct?
Appears to be a direct flip, is what it would appear to be,
Yeah.
unless at this point in time, the Bennetts choose to pay him some fee out of their side of it after the fact. There's no closing commissions listed, there's no finder's fees listed in our closing documents. Right now, the closing documents that we would require if the board had approved this today would have been from Bennett Farm Investments Limited.
So that's who you would be going back to and actually negotiating
We'd be going back to
with?
both, just like I said, we'd go back to both.
Okay, very good, thank you. Yes, it's Hughley, Hughgley. Thank you.
Alan, would you like the lady to go ahead of you, or you want to go ahead? So you're forfeiting your time, ma'am?
For the record, Alan Osborne. Just a comment, I think when y'all are taking the time to spend this kind of money, you ought to have a map up for each one of them as you go through it. And this is too many to do at one time. This is a lot of money. You're gonna spend millions of dollars, and it takes more than 30 minutes, then it takes more than 30 minutes. You wouldn't do that with your own money. So if it takes a long time to get it right, then get it right instead of getting it done fast. As far as the ball fields go, I coached ball here back in 2000 to 2008. We didn't have no damn ball fields then. If y'all really want to solve the ball field problem in the south end, stop changing the land uses for more homes that we ain't got ball fields for kids and parking and everything else. I mean, the reason we don't have ball fields now and it's a state of emergency is because nobody paid attention to the state of emergency we had back in 06 to 08. And I'll give you a reference of how much we've changed. When I coached football then, we had to have the same kids in South Walton play offense and defense so Defuniak could kill us, and they had 100 kids. So we were outmanned probably 10 kids to 1 back in the day in South Walton. So I'm really concerned about that property there reeks of Chat Holly. And maybe y'all should go read all that, where we found out after the fact that we really bought a brokered deal. And which would lead us to say that there's insider trading basically occurring in this county. When people know we're about to buy something, they run out and put it under contract. We've got to get away from that. It doesn't look good on us. We don't want to be suckers, and we don't want to be buying stuff at retail as somebody who realizes and is connected to the county can run out anybody. Not just this situation. We've seen this several times. Hey, I know somebody. I know you want it. Now I'm going to put it under contract and wholesale it to you. We could do better on that in the maps. But this stuff with property, the other option I'll give you is, have you looked at other places? I'm all for if that's that 2468 is out at, is that included in this motion to go?
No.
It's not, so I'm just 16 and who else?
Just 16 's all.
Just 16, okay, well, I'm not gonna cover the other stuff. But, you know, I'm really concerned about the amount of money, and here's something. For years, we sat here and fought about the beach access. Y'all got sued, we got sued, and then here we had $80 million come through the panhandle to buy a beach, and they didn't buy a beach with it. You go watch my video, what they bought with that. Let me tell you, that was the most underhanded deal I've ever seen in my life. I own property right beside it. Nobody even knew it was going on then. So you should be concerned that $80 million on beach money got spent, and didn't one of y'all have a clue it was gonna happen. And that wasn't trapped by a last minute change, Danny. That was the way it was
Thank
from
you.
the get-go. That's a lot of money. Should ask some questions.
Who's next? Mr. Bagby? Madam Clerk, for the record, Jim Bagby. Is anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, Mr. Bagby, you're the last one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I applaud that you have a little bit of a process. I would encourage you to more in-depth refine and develop that process. And most of you have been around here long enough, you remember the Foreman property where we were gonna put the amphitheater. Heck, we were gonna put the amphitheater where we've now put parking down at Grayton Corners. We keep buying things. We bought the building that we were gonna move the TDC, and we had to pass at that meeting. That was 8 years ago. Sarah Commander was up here, and she was adamant we had to buy it, and we were gonna move the TDC within a year into that building. And we still haven't moved the TDC. And oh, by the way, Melissa's got a building up there near her office that we just had to buy right then. But maybe we didn't quite do, I don't know if we used in-house environmental scientists or what, but maybe we didn't, we should have brought somebody else in. The difference is between dreams and plans. We have some dreams. We had a dream that y'all talked about here earlier today, but we didn't have plans. And I'm not talking, you know, construction grade plans where you can actually get to the penny what it's gonna cost, but at least have a plan of what you wanna do there. This is another example, great dream. I would go back to them, not just ask them to redo the price, ask them if they're willing to do a lot split. Identify how many ball fields you want to put up there and how many acres those ball fields and that associated parking would be, and say, look, this is what we'll give you. We'll give you $2 million for 1/10 of that acreage because that's all we need. And here's the 10 acres we would like to do. So and if they say, nope, it's all or nothing, then say it's nothing. I agree with all the previous speakers. This is one of those brokered deals that we keep doing, that we've done over and over again. We can do better. We should do better. I think y'all want to do better, but we just can't seem to get out of our way. And so I would just ask that y'all give additional direction to the administrator and say, tell us what we need. Because I agree, I've talked to over 200 people in the last month in this county. They want ball fields. They want ball fields on the south end. They want ball fields on the north end. They want facilities, but they don't want you to just go throwing their money away without a purpose. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gladwell.
It's been said a couple of times about the Foreman property. Foreman property is going under contract to do construction. You want to explain
Yeah,
that?
so we've gone through, there's different phases to it. There's Nelly Road connector, there's the regional stormwater facility phase, and then there's the performing arts venue phase. We've gone through the design and permitting for Nelly Road. Utilities are going in by regional utilities in Chelka, soon to start on the road itself. Then we'll start the regional stormwater facility, and on top of that, we have started the design for the performing arts venue. We're at a stage where we'll soon be presenting conceptual designs, and we'll choose a size of performing arts venue that is appropriate for that space and for our county and for our use. So it's moving along.
And the building up by Melissa, that's the county shop now. And that, when that project was started for the county shop, the estimate of cost was 6.7 million, Melissa? And we've got about 4 million in it. So we, in essence, saved $2.7 million by buying that building and renovating it, as opposed to building a brand-new county shop. So, you know, as has been said, government takes time. We don't just run out and build things. We have to go through the process. But these projects are moving, and they're moving as they were designed to move at the time of purchase.
Mr. Bagby had an interesting concept. Let's hire some professionals to get some conceptual designs so we can demonstrate to the general public what we'd like to do. But just recently, we decided, with the help from the gallery, to not do that on Eastern Lake. No, don't go to the effort to figure out what we can do there. Just have a public workshop. So I appreciate Mr. Bagby helping us to understand that it is good to hire design professionals to help you do your design and permitting effort.
Chair.
You're recognized.
Melissa, so I just want to get this straight. You've identified close to 7 million, am I being fair?
6.2 is what I'm looking at.
So you've identified 6.2 million possible to spend on land, and again, we have 36 million in this agenda. I just want to make that clear. So
About 47 million total when you count.
I wasn't going to count TDC, so, or TDT. But, so 6.2 million, and we're fighting over which property to buy that's in excess of double that so far on the lowest property, right? Okay.
And I do want to say that that's without dipping into that $50 million we've got for that hurricane reserve. I'm not even bringing that up.
I wouldn't either. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Any other discussion at the board? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Show the motion show the motion passes 3-2.
Item 17, 25-1642 is a request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the closing documents on the Brannon property. This property is approximately 384 acres comprised of 9 parcels with a purchase price of $2,985,600. We have appraisals that do not meet the appraised values. Melissa, do you have the exact number? I know one was 2.93. The other one's not pulling up for me right now.
And we are on the Brandon 2.93 and 3.07, and I've got the midpoint as 3 million.
Okay, so it does meet. So you only need 3 votes on this.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Gladwell, you recognize.
This property, we've looked at this before, and for various reasons, it didn't work out. But one of the reasons being we didn't have an access to Bob Sykes Road. They have now included that part of the property. So this is 384 acres that we can put as adjacent to the Defuniak Little League Park. It's adjacent to West Defuniak Elementary School, and it's adjacent to the Eagle Springs Recreation Center. So if we buy this property, we could put the ball fields that are neat. And let me back up there. The north end of this county does not have a single lit field for multi-use, period. We do not own one. We do not have one. We don't have a single softball field for adult softball because Gene Hurley Park just closed. So, and those 4 Little League parks, right, or Little League fields right there, everything to the west belongs to the Walton County School Board. They could close those fields tomorrow if they decided they needed to build on to West Defuniak Elementary, which would leave Defuniak with 2 Little League fields. So to say that these fields are desperately needed, is an understatement. We can put what we need on this piece of on this parcel, and at $2.9 million, Ms. Thomason can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got the money in the bank right now to buy these fields now. It would be a crime to make the children of the Funiac wait one more, because, like I said, there are no fields. Not to mention, we can't even have an adult softball league in the Funiac because we don't have any fields, lit or unlit. So we need to purchase this, and I make a motion that we buy it.
I'll second for discussion. May I, Chair?
You did.
I want to discuss now. That's one reason why I asked Melissa to confirm, knowing how much money we have first before we get the checkbook out. So she acknowledged we do have 6.2 million for this. Now, part of this was part of the phase 2 that I was doing with, or we were doing with parks, with those small lots that were whatever they were. They're almost landlocked, but they're not landlocked. I think they're coming up next. To put in ball fields adjacent to those ball fields that you were talking about. But this would just make sense. It does. And I'm teetering on this, but the only reason I'm going for it now is because we do actually have the money for this. And we're not taking all the money that's left. So there's something left over. And we can use in-house public works, because I did talk with our departments, to move some dirt around wherever we need it. And it would probably be minimal to do some of these ball fields. Ever since I've been on here, we've said we need some ball fields up there, and that's why I was working with Shane and everybody and Brad with like the phase 2 with those little lots. But this makes better sense. Like you said, you have access to Bob Sykes now. I'm sure you can't use all this land as you would want, but I think the opportunity for some trails or biking or hiking or anything like that on the portions that you don't really want to touch, or you can't touch because you can't build on it. But you know, I was teetering, but Melissa made my decision when I asked her how much money we actually had that we can actually write a check for. So.
And we can use in-house crews to do a vast majority of the work here, which will drastically reduce the price.
Well, that's what, that's a good point, in that why don't we apply the same motion that we did to the Bennett property and have our team professionally negotiate this to make sure that we do want to do it and that we're getting the best that we can.
I don't have a problem with that either.
Well,
Hold on just a second. Commissioner Johns, you,
Yeah, I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to ask a question. I mean, you've got a motion and a second on the floor already to purchase the property. But what I wanted to say is that I agree that you need that property, and I agree that they need ball fields. And I also would like to say, I think it would be beneficial to take that nasty 1960 swimming pool and fill it in and put a swimming pool down there as well. For the children.
Let's not get the cart before the horse.
I'm just saying, that would be a good thing to do, because that swimming pool that's up there right now is in the way of making that golf course flow the way it really should.
Well, we
And
want to get the ADA
so-
in there and all the playground equipment in there that we already have on the books first. I don't want to put so many irons in there that we don't get anything
Well,
done.
I was just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't
hold on,
disagree.
hold on. Commissioner Johns, you
I'm
still
done.
going?
I'm done.
Okay.
To answer the chair's question, like I said, we've looked at this parcel before, and got fairly close, but they only offered half of it, and the best part of it they wouldn't offer. And the part they did offer was well over $2 million. They've come down on the price. They've added all the property, and they've come down on the price. So, I mean, sometimes I agree we need to go to the well, but sometimes you can go to the well too often. And
I just know that every realtor that I've talked to in the last month has said that inventory is out there. It's through.
oh, that's why they're throwing it
Yeah.
in. That's why they're giving it all to us, and they're not gonna build the subdivision they were gonna build and all that other stuff.
Chair, I would like to clarify something.
You recognize?
Is Melissa, I believe that you said that this is under the middle of the appraised value. It's under, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, just under.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize?
Mr. Adkisson,
Yes, sir.
for the record, since Commissioner Johns brought up the pool at Country Club, am I allowed to vote on this property since it's not actually the Country Club property?
This is not expanding the existing golf course, as I understand it, nor have plans for this site been made. All I've heard is ball fields. I know she just introduced that. I don't believe that to be a conflict of interest because it's not part of the actual country club proper property and the attached lots for which you previously declared a conflict.
So we have a motion and a second.
I also note for the record that this is on the county's real property acquisition list, Commissioner Anderson.
Any other further discussion among the board? Mr. Osborne. Madam Clerk, for the record, Alan Osborne.
I'll use less than a minute of my time. I support buying this just because it's ball fields. I only support it because she says she has the money. But I'd like to see you do this. Look, the government, we don't do stuff like this, the federal government. If y'all gonna make the decision to buy this today, go ahead and take enough of that money to build it this year. I don't mean we're gonna plan down the road. Just go ahead and take enough of it right now so we have a date, the public. The second part I'll say, I don't support leasing any land to anybody for a marina, for public ball fields, because I really don't give a crap if anybody gets to drive to Walton County to use our ball fields. I care if our kids and our adults have places to recreate. I don't care about marketing it to somebody or giving somebody control of it, like with the Alderberry, let these people come in and lease it. If we do that, our kids, this county's kids, will be just like me driving our kids to the ball field in Destin to practice because we didn't have no place. So I would say if you have cash and if you're gonna buy these, take enough of the cash now to go. And the second thing I'll say, you've got some preservation pieces of property. I'll just use my favorite one, Sandestin. I believe out 20, they've got 800 acres of preservation land. You could build a whole lot of ball fields there and not put any concrete and stuff and still meet that. They might want to turn that 800 acres over to y'all and let y'all manage how it's preserved. And that wouldn't cost y'all a dime. But when they wanted all those exceptions back in the 80s to settle that, there's 800 acres that are free. They can't do nothing with it without your agreement. Y'all need to think outside of the box. But if you do approve this, please approve enough money to go ahead and build it. So, and like I said, I got told my ball fields were coming, and my kids are now part of the tax roll. So there you have it.
For the record, I agree with him. Let's get on with it. Should have done it 2 or 3 years ago.
That's on the record too? You agreeing with Alan?
I'm on the record. I agree with Mr. Osborne.
Madam Clerk, for the record, Jim Bagby. You
Please,
recognize?
please, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please buy this. And I would agree with Commissioner Gladwell and with Mr. Osborne. Have it open, not this coming spring, but by next spring. You could do that. Okay, if you put the money out and did it. Just to clarify the record on Eastern Lake, the Board of County Commissioners made that decision, not the people out here, Mr. Administrator. But I would just say this, and I agree with Commissioner Johns on the pool. You know, that is the worst thing at that golf course right now by far. So buy this, build the fields, and by the spring of 2027, have kids playing on them. Thank you.
Any additional participation from the public? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show it adopted unanimously.
We'll move to closing. We'll move to closing before the end of the calendar year. I'll get with you, Mr. Chairman, to coordinate signatures. Item 18, 25-1643, we're gonna need two separate motions, but I'm gonna address 18 and 19, which is 25-1644 at the same time. These are 8 lots that border the existing golf course. They're broken into parcels 2, 4, 6, 8, and parcels 1, 3, 5, 7. They are under contract respectively for $10,000 per lot each. So on item 18, it's a $40,000 contract. On item 19, it's an additional $40,000 contract. I will note for the record that we do have an appraisal. The appraisal appraised all 8 lots together. Note this is under $100,000. It did not require an appraisal under Florida statute, but the board voted not to waive the requirement, so we went ahead and got it. Their appraisal does not break them out individually. It just says all 8 of them are worth $60,000. So accordingly, that ties our hands a little bit, but it requires a supermajority vote. It will be a 4-vote requirement to acquire either of these sets of parcels. I will note that these are developable lots of record, which creates a scenario where, yes, these could be built on directly next to the golf course. It's not entirely clear why that was not directly reflected in the appraisal. Now, there are access issues to them. We won't have those access issues, but they are developable lots of record.
Motion to approve.
Second.
For 18, will you say for 18, please?
18.
Thank you.
Now, you said 60 for all, or?
The appraisal was 60 total for all 8 lots. And they said they were zoned agriculture, and there are a number of references. And I agree, there is an access issue. Not for us, but there is for anybody
Right,
else.
right. That's why I wanted them before with the Eagle Springs with the phase 2, because nobody's gonna really
So
want that.
if there's access issue, they're virtually worth what to the owner?
Well, somebody would have to get the access, and certainly the parent parcel where it was subdivided from would have the opportunity to go through it. I think the issue the appraisal just simply notes is, you look, there is a road right there that is not abandoned. Can we move the cursor to the right-hand side of those lots, please, Christie? Just right there. You see that little alleyway? I hope everybody can see that. That is an actual non-abandoned city street. It just so happens to go right through the middle of West Funiac Elementary School and its ball fields. So the access issue is not that they don't actually have access, it's just that they would likely litigate with the school district to get it. You also see a road that runs behind the school district's property and beside the golf course. Candidly, I have no idea how you would get down that pathway about where that cursor is, because that is a ravine and wetlands. But nonetheless, they are subject to access from the parent parcel. But that is their offer. This is the first time they have actually ever put a price on all 8 for the county. We've had various clusterings of them offered at various times. This is the first time we've ever had all 8 offered.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johns, a second by Commissioner Gladwell. Discussion among the board. Mr. Anderson, you're recognized.
Again, is this something I'm allowed to vote on?
Same situation. I've not heard this was an expansion of the golf course itself. It is not part of the existing golf course or Harbison Field property that would originally, so my same opinion applies. And I would also note, this is part of the county's real property acquisition list the board adopted.
Any comment from the public? Mr. Osborne.
For the record, Alan Osborne, since I was here when y'all did the golf course thing, my only question is this: will this be put in the deed that this property, should the golf course ever have to go back to the owners, this will not go back with it? Because I know that's a lease. So I just want to make sure that the people that we supposedly lease this from, that if something went, because we'd have to give it back to them, the way I understand y'all got it, correct?
No, sir. We're the fee simple owners of that golf course.
But if you ever stop using it, does it not revert back to the original owners? And I would just ask that this be identified in the deed as not part of that.
So I'll answer that, Mr. Osborne. First off, this would not fall under that so-called reverter clause.
That's what I was talking about.
And
reverter clause.
this would not. I will go ahead and state on the record, I've reviewed that document. I believe MARTA abolished the reverter clause well prior to the county taking the property in. I have talked to the issuing title agent who did it at the time and asked why it was not. I assume they had a better answer. They said, I guess we just overlooked it. We probably could take that
And I
clause
don't wanna
off.
argue the reverter clause.
So my point is, I think we could avoid the reverter clause, and I think our title insurer would remove it if we ever did
I
ask.
would
So,
just
but this will not be included ever.
I just asked that y'all include language that says this isn't included in the reverter clause.
Well, it's not because it doesn't come from the same people.
But later on, the county could choose to merge it if it was their property, and I just would not want somebody to end up with
Correct.
property they didn't pay for.
The chain of title will prevent that, I'm confident.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Show the motion approved, 5-0.
And that satisfies supermajority, Madam Clerk. Please note that in the record. I need the same motion on 19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Glidewell and seconded by Commissioner Curry. Any discussion among the board? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Show it passes 5-0.
Same notation, supermajority vote achieved. Item 20, the last one I have, based on the way we've done the agenda, is a request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the closing documents for the purchase of 115 Sandy Lane from the Belcher Living Trust. The contract price is $12.5 million. This does not meet appraised value. We have one appraisal that came in at $12.5 million. Then we had a second appraisal that came in just below $9 million and one just over $9 million with two variable points. Both referenced the property values. The high value was the property, one around $9 million, with the house not being included. Secondly, the lower one, the one that was just below $9 million, assumed demo cost is what devalued it. I cannot speak for why the appraiser chose to appraise this without the house on it. They took it as zero house value. That's what they did. We're not allowed to get in there and negotiate and tell them to change the appraisals, not how it works, so we didn't. But I do want to note that the one appraisal that brings us under the contract price completely ignored the board's express direction when this was presented to look at acquiring this parcel and then by meets and bounds description, retaining the property from somewhere around the dune and vegetative line seaward to having the beach therefore become public beach and match up to all that other public beach. And then for us to go back out for sealed bids with the right to reject any bids that don't meet the level we want to sell the home back on the market to help recoup some of the money. Again, I cannot speak to why the appraiser ignored that, but I felt like that's an important point to put on the record that while this does require a supermajority vote, the county's interest was acquiring the whole property that has the house on it. One did appraise it, one didn't. This is a TDC-based purchase. If the board approves a resolution making the requisite findings and bringing those monies forward to repay the board will be brought forth in January. Obviously, you don't work on a 12/31 fiscal year, so no financial issues or budget issues. I'll defer to Mr. Kellenberger or Ms. Thomason if they have anything else on this property.
Again, I'm gonna ask, how much money do we have to purchase this?
About $14 million of TDC money is unencumbered at the present time.
Yes.
That is allowable. So Florida statute says we only have 10% of our annual revenues can be used for beach park facilities. We've drawn down those reserves over the past several years. As of right now, barring any reclassification of one of the prior purchases, we're at $14 million based on how long it's been since we bought a piece of property with TDC dollars.
Well, I figured this is as close to beach renourishment as we're gonna get as to buy our own beach, so, at this point. So I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a comment. The property,
Hold on just a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Curry and seconded by Commissioner Glidewell. Purchase the property. Do you have a question?
I do. The property, I guess that's to the east of that large chunk, is that county properties as well?
It's property we lease from the state that we call Grayton Dunes.
Okay.
Click on that, please, Jason. That parcel. No, one next to it, to the right.
To the right.
That's the east. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it's under state rec lands.
And then there's a few more of those parcels over to the outfall there that includes the outfall that we also lease. There's about
That's
1,700
jointly
feet.
held.
Yeah,
The next one's an easement.
and that's when we own, I believe it was given to the state under a different state program.
So that's a lot of contiguous land there.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go back to the original, right there.
It's right at 1 1/4 acres.
Well, this will be the test case for what has been advocated a lot
Yeah.
over the years, that we buy beachfront and then do a lot split the beach off from it, and then resell the house and get some of our money back. So if it works here, then potentially we could do it a lot more.
And I do want to note for the record that that appraisal that removed the house speaks to the buildable area, not the dry sand area. So they're saying that everything above that dune back is what is worth effectively $9 million. For the record, one, it is not the county's intention to tear this house down, it's the county's intention to resell it. As that is the case, where in the past, we basically bought a house that we knew we were gonna bulldoze, we let people pretty well take what they want and go. If this motion passes, Mr. Kellenberger and I will work with the Realtor and the current occupied, because it is owner occupied at this time, to arrange a move-out date, secure insurance in the interim, and to make sure that all FF&E is left in the home so that it is showable and sellable and certainly occupiable in those scenarios. So that would be part of the directions to close.
I would have to assume there would be a steep rental rate associated, vacation rental rate at who knows what a night, $10,000 a night, extrapolated over time, obviously with recognition that you're not gonna get all of the good stuff. So how do we prevent foregoing those opportunity costs there?
You mean, would the county want to rent it? Is that what you're suggesting? As a possibility?
If the value of that was
Well,
$10,000 a night.
Once you own it, what I would suggest to you is, and I mean, that's certainly way, way above our average daily rental rate, but as a goal for property, we can certainly bring back a variety of options for sale, and if we don't like what we get in sale, we can look at whether or not we can solicit an RFP for a rental management company if the board wanted to do it. There, I mean, once it's yours, you can do what you want with it.
So we have to create a position to manage our short-term rentals now?
No, sir, we would do an RFP to ask for one of the rental management companies to propose what a management contract would look like. I can't encourage at all this board to hire a single employee to manage a single rental. But understand, it would not need to be an indefinite rental program, because I'm not sure how that's ever gonna serve a public benefit. What I would recommend, my path is, one, let's go out for sealed bids. If we do not receive a number we're comfortable with, then look at what it would take to keep it on the rental management program for the upcoming season. We wanna move very quick, because we're gonna be closing before the end of the year, and look at that as a temporary basis to recoup cost as part of the public benefit until we're able to receive actual dollars through a secondary surplus.
Chair.
You recognize?
I just don't want to get into this again. We just got done talking about this transportation system where we'd be taking away jobs from Uber. I don't want to start into this. We're taking jobs away from short-term rentals by opening up our own
That's not
short-term
being
rental.
voted on as part of this acquisition.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
No, we want to sell it to them.
Yes.
But that does open up an interesting question. Would we be a TDC collector?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely you would. There are no exemptions.
So we got a motion and a second. Any discussion, any more discussion? Seeing none. Who in the audience is gonna speak on this? So we got Barbara and Jim. Barbara? Madam Clerk, for the record, Barbara Morano.
Commissioners, in the motion, I approve definitely selling the house. May I pass this out, Commissioner Drake? May I just pass this out?
Yes, hand it to Loretta, please.
It's nothing that you haven't seen before, but selling that house, I think for even the amount of money that you're going to be purchasing that land, is definitely a target. Anyone who wants to live on that beach and live in a house in Grayton would be definitely the price of what you're going to buy that, plus more. And if the person bought that house, you can see that they can put a carriage house on there, and they can go ahead and they would rent that. So it's rentable for the owner as well. If you were not going to sell that house, I would have told you, don't buy it. because Grayton is one of the largest beaches we have, and to the west is the state park. A little secret is Pinewood in Grayton will get you right to the state park for free. So I caution and I also applaud that in this motion, you are going to sell that property and investigate rental, but I'm not leaning towards that. I don't think we need to get into that business. I think we need to get that money, turn it around, as Commissioner Glidewell said, start buying some more land, sell the house. I think that's a great way to go ahead with it. It's a beautiful piece of property, and I think someone, if they wanted to throw that house down and build something, whatever, they could still do that. But you could put a carriage house and have another home in the back. So thank you very much for that.
Madam Clerk, Jim Bagby for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All about buying beach property, a couple of questions. Did the TDC make a recommendation?
They did not.
They did not. Did this even go before the TDC?
They did not, nor has any property purchase gone
Okay.
before the TDC in years.
Okay. I would ask you to think about what you're doing, because we are getting into competition. Seems like, why don't you just have the current property owner split the lot and you buy the beachfront from them?
I'll stop his time. I want to answer that right now.
Okay.
Board, I cannot recommend you pay 1 penny for dry sandy beach, because you might as well get ready. If we ever do a renourishment project, we ever get into a takings issue, you've just set the mark. The first time you buy just dry sandy beach, you have now established a purchase price for it. So if they say, we'll sell you the dry sandy beach and we want $2 million, go ahead and measure that, and that's what you're gonna pay everywhere else in the county floor. That's the minimum. That's my recommendation to the board, to not do that at that point in time. At this point, the board is able to buy the property based on the house value and not get into that discretion. But I can assure you, every attorney who handled customary use and all the attorneys that are handling other claims, including the loss of use claims that are coming back after the 11th Circuit, would be eager to see the county buy just dry sand for something other than nominal value.
Well, I think everybody in the county would be willing to see the county buy dry sand, and then that would solve this whole conversation. If you set that price, it would still be up to the Board of County Commissioners, as I understand it, to actually buy that dry sand. So you could say no, or you could say no, that price is too much. What you're doing is basically a backdoor doing the exact same thing. You're buying the parcel, then you're gonna keep the sand, you're gonna sell the house for something. It doesn't take X minus Y to tell you exactly what you just paid for that dry sand. But let me ask, will we allow people to drive on this portion of the beach as part of the Grayton Beach driving permits?
That would have to be a request to FDEP, and I doubt they would allow it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have no
It's not
intention-
automatically grandfathered
We have no
in.
intention of doing that right now.
Okay, so the parking for the, oh, I'm sorry, was there something? So the parking for this would be inside the Grayton Beach proper? Or are we gonna keep the uplands on a couple of these parcels, 1 or 2 of these parcels
So
for parking?
So there wouldn't be any plan to put any vehicle parking there. We would enhance the current LSV parking and bike parking. Just on the west side of this property is raised multi-mountain neighborhood beach access that was given to us many decades ago. So that's why it makes it somewhat more attractive. We have a neighborhood beach access already there. It just adds more beach to the existing Grayton Dunes.
Okay, so how
public
many
beach
parking
access.
LSV parking spots are you gonna add?
I don't have any plans for it right now. It would be something that we would develop as we went through it. I mean, you know, it would be a project that we do in concert with the community, like we do all of our projects, to determine what's appropriate.
Okay, I would just ask that you look at that, because you are getting in the real estate business and you are getting into the rental management business. And I say, well, we're gonna get rid of it as soon as we can. Market's a little strange these days, and you could be a bed tax collector, and I would just say, that's probably not the business you wanna be in. That's why I would separate them first, because the end result is the same thing, that Mr. Atkinson and I were discussing.
And my only comment is, while the board can choose to pay, if the board ever elects to go through eminent domain for any portion of the beach for nourishment, the court's gonna look to certain things to determine values.
Well, that was my question, is if the value is considered a penny, then.
I'd imagine
then-
we'd be going to market for 12.5 million for this house. And if the board doesn't get what it wants for the house, it can do what it has done with every other single Gulfront house it's ever bought. It can turn around and bulldoze it. To Commissioner Glavell's point, this was presented to the board originally as a test case to see if it was possible. And the board will make that decision about whether it accepts any proposal to buy that house.
I want $12 million for it.
So,
12 and a half, I'd hope, but.
Is this house built prior to 1978? I believe it is.
It's an older house. I don't know if it was built before 19.
It's 70,
It was.
I think it's
It- it was
It's not what
77.
we call a modern day house.
It's
Yeah.
1977, I
Okay,
believe.
okay.
I'm trying to find that.
Because you have to have the lead-based paint disclosure.
Mhm.
So it's preset 1978.
My point of that entire discussion was that if we take possession of this capital asset, there is money that's sitting on the table while we decide what we're gonna do with it. It would be irresponsible not to pursue that. I mean, do we disagree on that?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, all right.
But
Got
I
it.
don't think we want the temporary to become the norm.
No, again, my recommendation would be, don't engage in that until we've done we can do a very quick advertisement under Florida statute for solicitations of bids. Let's see what we get. I mean, ultimately, we know at this point, the property owner is likely not going to vacate based on our initial conversations until early February. That's why they've already arranged insurance, naming us an additional insured with this. So with that being the circumstances, we're gonna have an opportunity to go ahead and go to market if we want, make sure they have the ability for us to show it, make sure they keep it in good condition. So by the time we come back to you in your first meeting in February, we're gonna know whether we've gotten any interest or not, and the board can then look at putting it on a temporary rental program or not. We can look at all those issues.
Yeah, I mean, the government owns parks. We own parks at the county level, we own parks at the city level, we own parks at the state level, we have parks at the federal level. There are services that go back to the residents and the guests, which we're operating with that scope and purpose. We're offering a commodity that we're good at, sand and sunshine, water, summertime. I mean, so we're providing that service. In the process of doing that, I don't want to let anything leak out that we could use for enhancements. So where does that put us? We have public comment. Who all's going to speak on this? Ms. Harris?
I think the rest of them is spoken.
If you take the money out of the TDC to buy the property and you sell the house, I agree, that's a great deal. But does the money the profit go back to the county, or does it go back to the TDC?
Has
Goes
to
back
refund-
into the
has to
TDC.
refund the TDC.
Okay, that's the only question I had. I just didn't want us not to have any money to buy something else, because y'all took our money.
I mean, theoretically, if for whatever reason this sold faster than Melissa gets the resolution back to the board and the TDC money never gets transferred, I guess it would go to the county. But as long as TDC's money's used, you pay the TDC back.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Show it adopted 5-0.
Reflect supermajority vote for purposes of acquisition. Madam Clerk, please, and that is all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, do we have any additional public comments from those who stayed here for the remainder of the event? All right, who all's gonna speak? Okay. Madam Clerk, John King for the record.
Thank you, sir. There was a comment about the foreign property and not being done. I mean, we're way down the path with that, but I wanted to point out within 2 years of you buying that property, the state, I think, gave you $14.8 million to bring that property and that project together. And that brings up a question. You know, the city of Destin, in the last 4 years I know about, has brought forward, and Mr. Bagby can probably speak to this, but $106 million for purchases and parks and stuff. And where are we in that? And so I'm gonna just say, if you hear about, and Mr. Caldwell, I wasn't being disrespectful when Mr. Drake said something about hiring a realtor. I ran out of the room. I was trying to be funny. If I can help you with my 50 years of experience in this in any way, do not hesitate to call me. Not for a fee, if I can help this county in any way. But let me say that if you hear that I am meeting with people, and this is not under the county's direction, or I'm gonna do this on my own. If you hear I'm meeting with people to find out how we get more money from the state and otherwise, just know, on the record, you haven't asked me to do anything. And if you hear I'm doing something for you, commissioners, I'm not. I'm doing something for this county if I can bring, I've raised money for, a lot of stuff, and I like doing that. And it's of no charge, so I'm not gonna get beat up here, but I wanna know why you don't have the money, Commissioner Johns.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
A lot of money's brought in.
why do we not, why couldn't, we should be in a position to buy the Bennett property. And, I'm not knocking anybody here. I've seen y'all make some really there's some wise purchases today, and thank you for those.
Who's next?
Lynn Edwards. Thank you very much. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. It's been a good meeting, tough meeting, but a good meeting. I wanted to particularly say thank you to Commissioner Anderson for requesting the presence of Mr. Brandon. I did want to say I found him very difficult to hear or understand. I'm not really sure where we are with the legislation that I brought up last week and how it particularly affects conservation easements and our ability to preserve properties, especially farm properties in the north. So I also agree that with Mr. Curry, who has now left, that it should be a requirement that we have a monthly report at least. And I'm going to recommend, I would love to see it in writing, just as we do as addendums to the agenda. So those of us who are weird enough to want to follow legislation can do so. With a little bit of notice, we might get support in Tallahassee. Do you know what I mean? There are many of us who would be willing to drive and talk about things and support our positions. I'd also like to see where the board is on some of these actual positions and legislation as it comes to pass. So I'm an earnest citizen, and I think there are a lot more who would be very willing to participate in that for both support and opposing legislation. The second thing I had to say was that I'm still hounding about water testing. I did bring it up last week related to the Mohawk Valley landfill. And I believe the last I heard of what we were getting for water reports was about a year ago. And I think it's important that we get those reports and make them public, and as well as far down the waterway as to South Walton Water District. I sat next to a young gentleman that we just hired at the last big meeting on this, and I was alarmed, as Commissioner Glidewell was, at the amount of heavy metals, particularly cadmium, which is very much related to Alzheimer's disease. Look it up, it's for sure. So I'm reiterating my request that we do that, and further, that we explore the whole Mohawk Valley situation as to where we stand. It's become a Class 1 landfill from a previous 3, which I think I understand allows them to bring more and worse dumping into our county. And at one point, there was some kind of not legislation, I forget the term, but it was something within our county that existed, and I'm not prepared to speak eloquently on it, but that absolutely defended this county from taking trash and garbage from anywhere. And also, as it relates, follow-up to the carbon dioxide storage situation right in our county. I attended the meeting. It was very scary. It will affect the same landfill area, which is the aquifer, right down through the county. And, whoops, sorry.
Thank you. Who's next?
Dan Howard, Captain Howard's husband, Howard.
I just wanted to call, just go back to a couple of things that Tabitha was talking about, and then a couple of other items. It's my first time ever, so forgive me if I'm a little stammering. So I wanted to talk about the whole idea of the cell service on that Indian burial ground. I just want to walk through a couple of things. First of all, it was identified as a burial ground. That's why originally Sandestin gifted it to a tribe. In the deed, it clearly states that it should never be built on, never be used for any commercial purpose. It was really just an archaeological thing. I don't think we have to worry about the cell service. I have a buddy that works at very high level in AT&T, plenty of spaces to put towers. So it's just a matter of where you're going to put those towers. But there are plenty of people out there that have land that want to place towers. So I don't think that's really a concern. Irrespective of that, in my opinion, shouldn't be a concern. We should worry about whether or not that land is being properly used. And to Mr. Atkinson's point, once it was allowed to have that first tower in, did that open up the floodgates so that anything could happen on that property? That's the question. Also, Mr. Atkins talked about the recent appellate court ruling. I don't know if you guys have read the decision on the 2017 NOPC, and I may be stepping out of my lane here.
We're talking about pending litigation here. We can't.
No, sir, I'm not. I'm just going to say one thing.
Well, you're addressing pending litigation. You ask if they've read an appellate court opinion or got a comment on it. That's not under our rules.
I didn't ask. I said, I don't know if you have. I stated it as a fact. I don't
Well,
know.
if you're gonna talk about that litigation or anything in it, it's not subject to public comment under our adopted board policies.
Well, here's what I would ask you. Do you want to jeopardize your position by talking about that?
No, sir, I have no position, honestly. I'm not a party of it. I would just recommend that any court case that has anything to do with the county should be reviewed and in detail by all the elected representatives.
I can assure you the Board of County Commissioners has reviewed it in thorough detail. I have met with every commissioner up here about that opinion, and we've actually had at least one executive session on it. So the board is thoroughly versed in that case.
Okay, thank you for that information. On item 16, I think it was the Bennett property, I seem to recall that required a supermajority. Is that correct?
To purchase, yes.
Oh, so it was, but that vote, that was 3-2, that was not to purchase that?
No, it was not. It was
Okay.
to amend, to try to negotiate a lower price and come back with amended closing documents.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to say is 318 million, that was my understanding of the county budget. I just think every once in a while, somebody should stand up here, one of the citizens should stand up here and say, $318 million is a lot of money for such a small county, for so few residents. Thank you.
What now?
For the record, Alan Osborne, that's fine. I don't need to talk about the opinion, but I will say that I think Clay's conflicted on that. And then Mark Davis wouldn't let him give me a briefing on it, so I'm just gonna say that for my own thing. He can talk about that later like he did when I'm not standing up here, but what I want you to tell you this is, I don't need to talk about an NOPC or quasi-judicial. That's not what Tabitha was asking for. Because as Clay has stated before, and I'm gonna read this statute, what I'm asking for is the monitoring and enforcing of the provisions of the development orders that have already been quasi-judicially adopted. So you said you have no letters of violation or no findings? You have a finding from the issuing?
No, I said there was no court order for the
Okay,
board's
well,
record.
I'm gonna tell you what you do have. You can decide what it is. You have a letter from the issuing development order agency from the state starting in 2007 saying that there's violations occurring and that and they also send you this, I pulled it from their briefing, but I've got it, tell you that you are responsible for enforcing it. You received another one in 2009, 2010, 2014. You also, that violations were occurring. And they told you won't issue any permits, but you've had other quasi-judicial hearings, you've issued permits, and it wouldn't really matter if you did allow a tower to be put out there, because if it's in non-compliance, they're gonna have to have a permit to repair it and rebuild it. And the law says you won't give them one because they're in non-compliance. So the big issue is we can't get due process for code enforcement. So let's just not talk about NOPCs. Let's talk about the laws that are on the books. When I write down the standards that are in this statute, in this 84 settlement agreement, okay, let's not talk about open space, let's talk about the monitoring of you shall not directly pipe water into the bay without treatment. That it will be percolated through lakes. I've offered every one of you, and only one of you has ever taken up the invitation to come out there and see the 4-foot pipes taking water straight into the bay. I've crawled through those pipes, and there's people in Baytown dumping stormwater directly into the bay. So we don't have to have an NOPC to enforce Sandestin, because you're required to enforce it through your code procedures. And mine and Tabitha, as she said to you many a times, when we write stuff in code, that what we write in the code is stricken from the complaint, and then it's closed out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why there's a big problem, because we don't have due process to enforce it. The heck with having the change. Let's enforce what we have, and Tabitha was asking you to follow the law, just like I am. So what was said was false, but a copy of this is
Mr.
given to your
Osborne.
planning director. I'm wrapping it up within the 15 seconds that you gave other people, Brad. Here's the book that y'all possess, and your planning director had it. So what he did with it, I don't know.
All right, so I think all of us have been inundated with this issue, and it's very difficult to follow all of the moving parts. Mr. Osborne, I want to give you due process. I want to understand. I don't think you recognize that we don't live this day in and day out every day like you have for however many years, okay? So you go through all of these things, and they're just going left and right and over and above and beyond. You're gonna have to like spell this out to where we can take each one of these. So I want you to make the first I want you to come back up here, and I want you to tell us what step by step, issue by issue, that you think that we're not addressing.
How about I do you this, Chairman? You have a new DRI person that's working for Tabitha. How about I get you, if this board will direct her to sit down with me.
But I want to understand it piece by piece.
And I'm gonna tell her.
Because if you say, you're not doing this, I want to look to Clay and say, are we doing that and why not?
And I want to give you that answer, and I think there's personal conflict with you and many other that I can't do that for you. So what I'm offering to do to you is take your known representative who's inherited this from Renee Bradley, provide her the documents in a briefing if y'all direct her to, and she can come up here and explain exactly what I want.
Can you put it in a form where you put allegation number 1?
I have done that many
Failure
times.
2. I want to see that.
If you look on that thumb drive I gave you, there's a whole outline of all those issues of what they didn't dealt with and the conversation that you and I had that I could never get. I want you to consider what you just said to me, Chairman, and you know it even though you weren't here. For 20 years, I have filed code complaints. None of those have successfully made it to a board or the magistrate, despite the fact that on one of the cases, y'all paid out $1.3 million. So, look, if y'all had an answer to shut me down, it's really not that complicated, but people want it to be complicated. You have a drainage standard, you have an open space standard, you have a number of units standard, and you have a traffic standard. That's the only 4 things that DRI, because it's an old original one, it never expires. That's the only 4 components that a developer has to keep compliant, and it's my accusation that 3 of them are non-compliant right now: traffic, open space, and drainage. I think the units are in compliance. I'll agree with Clay on that. So those are my 3 simple accusations, and I have a lot of documentations, including your own expert, that says those 3 things under the Florida law that I'm asking for enforcement on, this board is responsible for, because the people asked for local rule to be the rule. And so there are no more DRIs. The state can give no permission to anybody else to go do something different. Okay, that was at the request of the people.
Can you answer the enforcement piece, Clay?
Given that it is intertwined with litigation I expect we'll be back in court on, and a piece of litigation Mr. Osborne's filed against us, I'm going to respectfully decline, because I don't believe me offering an opinion here, if we're going to be in court on it, benefits anybody. but I am more than happy to speak to each of you individually on that. I will be more than happy if the county wishes to summon the code enforcement director to offer their opinion of how they've done something. But I think as your legal counsel, you're putting me in an untenable position
Okay, I
if I'm
understand
forced to
that.
defend you.
Here's what I'm trying to understand. I just want to ask my fellow colleagues, do you guys understand every element of this issue with one absolute certainty?
No.
Okay, me either. So I'm not by myself.
And that's why I'm trying to offer to
Okay,
give you your
I understand.
representative.
But you come here, I mean, as you can do, you come here at almost every meeting and you throw all these things and you use all these words. And I know I'm not by myself. I'm going, well, maybe they understand what he's talking about. And then there's the allegation of you don't enforce your own rules. You're breaking the law. You're letting people break in the law. And then you go sit down. And then there was nothing that we really ascertained out of that conversation other than you
never
threw a
had
lot of frustration and then we were left with nothing to take home with.
I disagree.
Other than the next week, it's the same thing. You guys don't give us.
Well, what have you done? What have you done, Chair?
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand it enough to do anything.
Well,
And
you'll
I'm
have to-
asking,
you'll
I'm
have to
asking
agree.
for your help.
And I'm sitting here trying to
Okay.
answer your question. Just listen to me. I've offered to take every single one of you individually to the place of the violations, and one of you has taken me up on it.
Me.
Yeah, no, Mr. Curry.
Or you don't remember me going there with you?
Did you get out and take pictures? Did you? So you acknowledge you've seen the pipe directly piping water to
Yes,
the bay?
and I've asked the questions on what is
Would you
it
like
that
to
we're-
see the adoption of the ordinance that says you won't do that?
I don't understand. I want to ask the attorney, but he's telling me that if we
I'll
ask the
address it outside
questions.
of a public
Okay.
Well, I mean,
And that's to your advantage.
Well, I'm just telling to you guys that you told me, not when you were up there, but I can't remember who was the chair. You told me that I had the right to code enforcement, and Tabitha and everybody in Sandestin has the right to enforcement.
That, I'll state on the record, everybody there has the right to code enforcement.
Okay, well then that's what I'm looking for, Mr. Drake. I'm looking to give your planning people a brief and not be told that they won't talk to me because, let me tell you, for the past 15, 20 months, I've sent nothing but things about code enforcement and nobody's ever sat down with me from the county. So why am I here? I wrote Brian, offered to sit down and explain it to him. He said he couldn't do it because of Clay's advice. So nobody can do it for Clay's advice, but I can't explain it to any of y'all. You're not, even if I explain it to y'all individually, nothing requires you to vote in my favor. But just understand, I'm asking you to enforce the law.
Well, that's the part I don't understand on whether or not we can or what it is we're not enforcing, but I can't get an answer on that question.
And for the record, I don't believe I've ever advised any member of this board not to meet with a party opponent. If you think I have advised you not to meet with Mr. Osborne, please let me know so I can.
I said Brian.
I haven't advised anybody in the county not to meet with you, Mr. Osborne. I've always advised the board members don't meet with attorneys of other parties, of course, but I don't think that's ever come up in your case anyway.
Look, the same pipe that's been dumping water in the bay, and there's probably 12 of them. If you want me to pay for a rental boat, I'll drive y'all around and you can see the violation yourself. And then you go ask the code enforcement people, how come you have this report? How come planning has a statement that engineering is using the wrong standard and nobody will have a discussion with me about it? If the code is allowed to be enforced as a property owner, then that's what I was looking for. And if I had got that due process, then I probably wouldn't be standing here. But I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Drake, the issues that we had in 2016 that we settled, it's not my fault that nobody went to go fix them. But nothing changed. In fact, you went out and doubled down.
Okay, but now we're in that litigation, Mr.
So,
Osborne.
like I said, I don't want to talk about the
I know that's not where
litigation,
you're going, but let's-
but I'm telling you that what I asked for was exactly, and y'all have a copy of this in your May 2023 briefing. I read it into the record that the local government, by y'all's own request, and Mr. Drake, you were in the legislation when all this stuff went down, local rule, that the state would take action when the local government told them that there was a violation. Look, if y'all want to be out of the middle of the Sandestin thing, simply do what you did originally. Tell the state you believe a violation's occurring based on for enforcement, and then let them conduct the hearings. Do you realize when y'all did that last time and we agreed to go to a special master, y'all let the developer not show up and did not ask the state to compel him to participate. So y'all stood there in his place at the special master hearing, and nobody from SDI ever came. Secondly, you have an application in 2010 to change the drainage standard, and you pulled it, which means you've never changed it.
When?
2010.
Well, none of us were here.
Well, it doesn't, the law's been broken since then, so you're here now inheriting the situation of the previously elected people. And
I'm trying to figure out and decipher what it is that we can
okay,
physically
you're in
do.
violation of the drainage standards. Dr. Harper gave y'all a report that says you're about 10%
Okay,
compliant.
can we have this conversation?
Well, I think it would be prudent that each of you individually meet with.
I get it,
the-
but
the
we gotta
engineer-
understand.
No, the engineering department.
Yes.
Because, well, Mr. Allen Osborne has a very extensive information. It's prudent that you, as people that will be deciding on something in the future, be it litigation, relitigation, or whatever it is, you need to get the story from more than one source. Our engineering department has done a lot of research on this as well and has a differing opinion. But let's hear it from registered professionals.
Hey, I offered
So
to
all
have
along, it's
this.
an engineering issue. This is a
Wait a minute.
technical expertise.
No, that's what I'm saying.
In our planning department.
I wanna understand what the allegation is, and I wanna understand what the remedy
So,
is on whether or not we.
He's explained it. He believes we're out of compliance.
That's just one of them.
That's just one. Mr. Kellenberger, I am sick and tired of hearing about this, and I know everybody else is. I just want to resolve it. So I feel like every meeting when we get together, and then we're back to the same bullet points, of which I don't fully understand everything that's going on or around or said, and my colleagues agreed that they didn't fully understand it either. While we're in this environment, to the extent we can, I want to have the healthy debate. I want somebody to be able to say, that's not true and here's why, or this is the remedy, or here's why it's not. That's all I'm asking for.
I welcome that public workshop, because, Mr. Drake, do you understand what direct piping of water is? Do y'all understand? So if you saw a pipe coming off the road going directly into the bay, none of you should have any more trouble than code.
But the one thing that I do understand is that there is a difference of opinion on what the standard is. So as long as you have that imbalance, I don't know that we can resolve any of these issues. Is that a fair statement?
No, it's not, because, let me tell you why it's not.
Well, see, you say yes, he says no.
Well, you can take both sides, so hear why I say it's not. Because y'all had this same issue for years, and you guys want to go to a special master. The special master said that your county people were conflicted because Chance, Charlie, Greg, and Anna all worked on Sandestin privately. Okay, all your engineers that have signed off on this, all at one time worked on the Sandestin project. So the special master said, you, the county, go out and hire an independent engineer. Y'all hired Tetra Tech first to design something. Then when he didn't like his answer, y'all hired Dr. Harper. And y'all picked him. You asked me, if we picked this guy.
We weren't here.
Okay, y'all, the BCC. So some of the county staff was, so I'm still dealing with the same people. They said, Mr. Osborne, will you agree to Dr. Harper's findings if we do this? And I said, yes. I spent a lot of money on those hearings. And so we did. And then when it came back, y'all disagreed with Dr. Harper and went right back to your own people who were conflicted. So what am I supposed to do when I follow your process and we go hire somebody and I go through 8 or 9 years of waiting while y'all issue permits and flood out my other house? This should have been solved, but you made a traffic change of greater than 15%. It's automatic substantial deviation. Never been addressed. So none of those issues of enforcement have anything to do with a quasi-judicial hearing. I offered this. I gave them a presentation to the Mosquito Commission, a complete presentation. I also had public forums where I challenged any developer, and I'm willing to do that right here. If you would like to have a workshop, where your engineers want to get up and make statements on the record. Hey, look, if your engineers say it's in compliance, please write up a statement that they have evaluated Sandestin as being in compliance and put their engineering stamp on that piece of paper saying that a 1/2-inch retention meets the DRI requirements and that you can put water into the bay straight through these pipes. And then I'll take that to the engineers board and we'll get a decision on that. But they have refused for 12 years to put y'all's engineering stamp on a piece of paper. And you gotta ask yourself, why did the Moxie Hotel change its standards after it read the paperwork? Why has everybody who has read the paperwork, who was in fear of lawsuit, why have they chosen my standard? Because that's not my standard, it's the one adopted in your ordinance. I have an original copy of
Well,
the
I would say the
ADA.
common sense answer would be they wanted to avoid the same thing that we're having to go through.
That's right, but that don't make it right, does it?
Doesn't mean that we still are at impasse on what the standard is.
No, we're not. You're not at an impasse. You have a direction from a law not to provide services for planning.
And I've now asked my counsel, and he said.
He says you're in
different.
compliance for, let's just make it straight here. Your counsel says that you are currently in compliance for open space, drainage, and traffic. If he's willing to go on the record and say that Mr. Atkinson.
Again, we're in
has-
the middle of litigation on this at this point in time.
Okay,
I
then we
understand that we can't get into
That's
this.
your policy, but it's not the law. Y'all just decide y'all don't want to talk to it, and that's why the can gets more.
No, see,
explosive.
that's what I'm sick and tired of hearing. You don't want to do this. In
He
front
just
of,
told you
in
no.
front of, well, that's who we elected to be our general counsel.
So let me
So when
read
I
it.
ask him
Was
for
he
his advice,
conflicted or not?
I don't know.
Well,
Are
what
you
is my,
conflicted?
no, sir, what is my
Okay.
conflict
He
of
said
interest in
no.
Destin? I've
Okay,
never
Representative
represented Tom.
Scott.
Hey,
Becknell.
listen,
You asked me a question.
Never represented Tom Becknell, never represented Sandestin. In fact, I represented the county on this exact issue
You got fired.
almost 15 years ago. So, no, I am not conflicted.
okay, so he says he's not conflicted. Now
Okay,
what?
So is it Mr. Atkinson's position?
Well, can we,
I'm
can we
not
get
gonna
into
give a
this?
legal opinion to a citizen
Okay.
unless
Well, you
this
just
board
told
by
me you
majority.
can't
Oh,
do it.
Mr. Osborne, hold on a second.
I'm here too. You're not spending your money, Clay.
Mr. Osborne,
Well,
he
He's
has the
not in
floor.
charge. You be in charge.
Well, he has the floor.
You didn't recognize him.
I believe you did.
I acknowledged him.
So I'll say this. At this point in time, I don't give legal advice to the citizens. I give legal advice to this board.
Correct.
And I will gladly give it to the board. If the board by majority vote up here says they want me to give a legal opinion about that, I can certainly do so. But if the majority of this board does not do it, one person can't direct me to waive attorney-client privilege to the entire county, which is what would be happening in that scenario. The bottom line is there is obviously going to continue to be, and there has been, a dispute of whether or not we are in, whether the DRI is in noncompliance and we are required to enforce. I'll simply read, the gentleman referenced that appellate opinion. I want to read briefly from that appellate opinion, and then I think we need to
Now, you
probably
said I
wrap
could
this
discuss-
matter
Hold
up.
on, don't interrupt him, please.
This is an issued court order. I'm not going to talk about what's happening. I'm going to talk about literally the written word. This is public record, docket number 1D 2021-3898, decided February 12th, 2025. This is the appellate opinion we've all talked about. So, it indicates very clearly that SDI submitted the NOPC in response to a determination of non-compliance, DONC is the abbreviation there, issued by the county. So yes, at one point in time, there was a notice of non-compliance issued. Next line, there's an appellate court finding. Acting in its quasi-judicial capacity, the county approved SDI's NOPC, which remember was submitted to address that, comma, rescinded the DONC, which is the notice of noncompliance, comma, and amended the Sandestin DRI-DO. There has not been, after that point in time, a determination of noncompliance issued by this Board of County Commissioners. There's not been a finding that that determination of noncompliance being rescinded was improper. There's not been a judicial determination on that. We will be glad, and I am asking every member of this board, take Mr. Kellenberger up on his proposal to talk to your engineering staff, because ultimately, there are two separate issues. And so I'm answering what he just wanted to talk about, noncompliance.
No, he's not.
But
Let him finish.
But he said something else that is why you need to talk to engineer. He said what he's asking about is the enforcement of standards on the ground, things of that nature. Well, that's where you get into engineering. So if we're talking about are they in non-compliance or not, those are legal phrases associated with statutes, associated with DRIs. The appellate court said what it said there. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, you had a court in Tallahassee make that ruling this year. Talk to your engineers, please, board. Let's make sure you hear what they have to say. And then if Mr. Osborne, nothing stops Mr. Osborne from going to meet with planning to talk about these issues and talk about and raise his concerns. But as we are right now, there is litigation that Mr. Osborne has brought related to his prior settlement agreement with the county. And then there is still his challenge to the revised 2017 and OPC pending in circuit court in Walton County. And I understand the desire of the board to get this behind us, but the more we do this in a public meeting, the greater issue it has. And I can assure you this county will be receiving correspondence within the next day or week from Sandestin saying, why did you address our development and our development rights in a non-noticed hearing at the end of your board meeting when the board can take no action? That's our due process right. And by the way, they do have a due process right. So if we're going to get into this discussion, we need to notice it and make sure everybody in the room can have it, because SDI, whether Mr. Osborne likes them or not, has every right to present their version of this too. It's not just the county and Mr. Osborne in this. I want to be very clear. So I think when we talk about due process, he's has the right to have code enforce it. If code doesn't find a violation of the code to exist, and they say one thing and Mr. Osborne says another, that's a disagreement. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree. But I think, guys, we're way outside the scope of what we can take up at this point in time. It seems like we're drifting well into these other issues.
So let me ask this quite simply. Are we left with this dispute very similar to like customary use, where the whole thing is about a dispute between two parties where it's irreconcilable? Right now, we're in a dispute between two or three parties that seem to be irreconcilable. Are we waiting for a judge to call the ball or the strike? Are we waiting for a court to render an opinion that makes this issue go away?
The matter before the circuit court on remand from the First District Court of Appeal is not determining those issues. There was a request to amend the lawsuit to add all of those issues in. That was denied by the judge. So the issue that was adjudicated was the notice for the revised 2017 and OPC.
So where's the final determination?
It's already been made, and again,
It's under appeal?
I believe the court has opined on this, that the issues that are being sought to be raised about open space, drainage standards and otherwise have already been passed when they were not appealed after the original 2017 and OPC. And I agree with the court's determination on that. And that was not appealed, and that was not overturned by the District Court of Appeal, Mr. Drake.
So there really is nothing that we can do at this level?
Not until the OPC's issued.
Like I say, you can go ahead and say that. I'm just gonna go on the record and say that's ridiculous. 20 years? 20 years I've been writing this stuff up? Hey, listen, look, you sculpted that answer. Clay is conflicted in my opinion. I'd be glad to tell you. I'll give you the documents. Look, the court,
I
look,
sculpted
if
the
there was
answer.
no notice.
Mr. Osborne, stop.
If there was
There's
no
no
notice,
need.
then it didn't happen. He just told you the court said something. He read you one little bit of that opinion. And then he said the court said that there was improper notice. Well, if there was improper notice, I guess that I couldn't have brought up, I couldn't have had a chance to be a party that has standing.
Well, the improper notices is to the revised NOPC, not the first NOPC, which is what the court says was not challenged by Mr. Osborne.
I'm just trying to
And
understand.
if the notice is
Mr.
incorrect,
Osborne,
can you ask him what
Mr.
will happen?
Osborne,
I'm trying to give you the answer.
I'm trying to be helpful to everyone involved. I think what I'm understanding is there's not anything that not one of us is physically able to do to bring this issue for a landing. Am I right?
Not here tonight.
So you're gonna decide that that pipe's running into the bay and all the letters you got, the wrong standard, that there's nothing that I have no right to code. Well, if you're so confident, let the code complaint go forward to the special magistrate. And stop doing this 2-minute clips of it. Yeah, I'm not scared of this process and all y'all know it. That's my problem right there, always has been. I don't have a fair shot here. And I've just read you a statute, unless he can produce something. You ask him right here, say, Well, if the notice was bad, Clay, then what's the remedy? And that's to go back through the whole hearing process.
With all due respect, Board, I'll simply say this. If the revised 2017
How come he can
NOPC
interrupt?
is set
He
aside.
interrupted me. Why
Mr.
you stop
Mr.
him?
Osborne.
He asked, I'm answering. If the revised
I wasn't
2017 NOPC is set aside, you go back to the 2017 NOPC that was the non-revised one. And that will be the law governing Sandestin that the board approved. That's where we'll be. If the revised one's not approved, now it'll be up to Sandestin. Do they wish to submit another NOPC? Either about that or about any other issue. That is their choice. We don't issue NOPCs that they don't ask for.
But you're required to local monitor, Chairman Drake. You're required to local monitor by the law. It doesn't matter what the practice is. It doesn't matter what the developer wants. You are required to local monitor what's been, and Clay has already provided a statement of facts that said the 89-09 ordinance has not been changed since its inception. And if it has not, then it adopted a 6.7-inch drainage standard, which you did not have in the 2017 NOPC. It adopted the direct piping of water as prohibited from that point on, and it's never been suspended. And those issues should go before the magistrate or a code board. And because when I filed my complaints that people were building next to my house, and I don't want to get into that because it gives Clay, but if Tabitha, who doesn't have a lawsuit, if the Howards tell you she is multiple times who's not in litigation, told you that she doesn't have access to her open space, she has violations that she can show y'all of the water, and never once are they written up by code. And that should be of concern to you, the elected officials, that the code process is skewed. Because I'm sorry, the Florida Board of Engineers, which was not in the litigation, said the counties was using the wrong standard to evaluate compliance.
Commissioner Gladwell, you recognize.
By the clock, we've been at this for over
I know.
40 minutes, and there's people out here want to talk.
I understand.
And that's wrong.
But would you not agree with me that you're at that level where you're tired of hearing all of these allegations and things that we're not doing?
I actually agree with him about the open space.
Right.
I've always voted for it.
But that's what I'm saying
I'm
is.
not, I mean.
You think it's in compliance, then let's enforce it.
I
If
don't
it's in
think- no,
non-compliance.
I don't think the open space is in compliance. I've
Exactly.
never voted that it was in compliance.
I didn't say you did.
I'm
David.
saying we don't need to sit here for another hour when there's people out here want to
Well,
talk.
I have offered to do it in many other forums and a workshop. Anything y'all want, I'm down for it, because everybody knows I've got the documents. If y'all could have easily proven me wrong, Clay, why doesn't Dana and all them sue me if I'm lying? Because they'd have to deal with this truth in documents. Look, if the money
All
I
right,
have
let's-
cost people, so.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, who else is out there that wants to comment on something?
You don't get the same.
Tabitha Howard.
You've already addressed this issue, if that's the one.
So.
Ms. Howard, do you have a different issue?
Actually, while I was sitting down, I had found some stuff, and there's not a conditional use.
Ms. Howard, you've
for-
already addressed this issue.
You know what, for public comment, I thought I was allowed, I could say anything that I want to, so, during public comment. So,
About,
on December the 3rd, 2025.
Wait, I want to make sure we're within our policy guidelines, unless the board wants to move in a different direction to waive the rules, then we have to adhere to the rules. Is there a desire of the board to waive the rules?
No.
I said earlier, it's your show, sir. Run it the way you want.
So,
Okay,
do I
you-
bring
you-
this up at the next meeting during
Yes.
public comment?
Yes.
Okay, but I'll just let you know, they do not have a conditional use, and what they're doing right now.
You're referring to the cell tower, right?
Yes, sir.
That's being reviewed. The board passed that motion. I can assure you it's being reviewed, Ms. Howard. Conditional use and all will be considered.
And they don't have one at all, and they just applied December the 12th, or, I'm sorry, December the 9th. And they don't have a conditional, and they're doing all this stuff right now, we've got 2 cell towers.
All right, we're on it.
I just want to say thank you for bringing that forward, because I didn't know there were 2 towers on that. And I agree with you, there never should have been one, but in 2005, unfortunately, the board agreed to that. Hopefully, there's something we'll be able to do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else?
Y'all can't talk.
Mr. Bagby?
And Mr. King's issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for allowing this discussion, although it did go on a little long. A couple of questions, because this has been at the heart of perceptions in this county for a long time. There is a trust deficit, and if you want to know why the infrastructure tax didn't pass, it was because there wasn't trust that the county would do the right thing with that money. And so I don't know what the answers are. I'm kind of like you. I'm more confused. I hear Alan get up. I hear Brian talk. I've talked to the engineers. I don't know what the standard is. I know they agreed to the special master, all that. I do have a couple of questions, though. Maybe Clay can help me. So as I understand what you read, the case was at the appeals court, and the appeals court sent it back to the circuit court. Is that
Correct.
okay? And so the circuit court is only reviewing a small part of the complaint? What is that part of the complaint?
The primary, again, I'm not gonna talk about pending litigation. I don't know.
Well, I don't want your
Well,
position.
You
I
can
just
talk,
need-
hold on.
Yeah.
You can talk offline, so
Yeah.
ask him that question when we get out of here.
Okay, yeah, I just want, because it seems like, maybe the county, I think the rub that what Tabitha was asking when she got up here, or wanted to ask, was for somebody to make a motion similar to direct the county administrator that any development that is not in compliance or where compliance is in question shall be considered a major development and require board approval. So that we're not, I think one of the concerns and one of the trust issues here is that the previous planning director approved the second cell tower temporarily or whatever, and some things got approved because he deemed it was a minor thing, and that goes back to they're not doing it right, and now they've found a workaround, which seems to be what they were doing with a lot of things. And I would just say, y'all pull it up to your level, and then that way there's notice, because there's no notice from the planning director that, oh, I'm gonna approve another cell tower, or I'm gonna approve this or that or whatever. And then that way, it gets noticed in a public meeting, and Alan and Tabitha and everybody and their brother who has an issue here can come talk about why it should or should not be. And there's probably more developments in this county besides Sandestin that are either not in compliance or questionably in compliance. So I would just ask you to look at that. To answer Mr. King's question, bless his heart, yeah, 84 million of that was state money. The city of Destin had nothing to do with it. The other 20 million or whatever, most of that is split equally between the county and the city. The city's exposure, I think, is less than 9 million, or about 9 million total. But you know, that 116 million sounds good, doesn't it? Thanks.
All right, who's next? We have one more left. Who wants to speak? Seahawks.
Hopefully it's a little lighter note. I know everybody likes talking about youth sports. First off, I want to thank Tony for our shade at the ballpark. It's very nice, and it's going to be very welcoming as it heats up out there. I want to share this with you all. Can I pass this paper out?
Hand it to the clerk, please.
So you caught me in between work, and we were supposed to have practice tonight, but a little bit of rain caused us to cancel. But I wanted to share with you all, that little bit of rain happens often here on the coast. And that's a list of facilities here on the Gulf Coast that have turf fields. Everyone's shifting to turf fields. There's a reason for that. Cost efficient. Truer hops for the kids when they're playing baseball. For nights like tonight where it rained earlier today, we're still able to practice. Destin's getting turf fields. Shalimar's getting turf fields. Fort Walton already has turf fields. Publix Park has turf fields. There's one county here, one coastal county that does not. It's Walton County. With that being said, I also want to ask, we've heard for years there's be revitalization to Helen McCall. I spoke about the number of kids participating in youth sports in South Walton County. That number outweighs the rest of the county combined for recreational basketball. There's also an email there on the third page where a parent had to cancel registration because it's a 45-minute drive to the ballpark for them to attend practice and games, driving from Miramar Beach to Dune Lakes. We love that facility. We're very thankful for it. Our community had 630 kids register for basketball. I'll repeat, that is more than the rest of the county combined. We utilize 3 fields for our Little League. We have over 500 kids we anticipate in Little League this year. My question for you all is, when will the Helen McCall project start, and when can we anticipate for that to be finished?
This quarter coming up, the first of the year, they're going to be starting to move dirt.
Okay, so I'll revisit this in March. We should
Yes.
see dirt being
Yes,
moved.
absolutely.
I agree with you about the turf fields. In fact, we should move to every one of them, because it's, for the county, it's a maintenance issue.
Absolutely.
And it's a manpower issue. Those turf fields don't have to be cut. And so we would not have to use the manpower we're doing. So, yeah, I agree with you on the turf fields.
Thank you, Danny.
Chair? I don't disagree as well, but we need to have a plan in place, or we're going to sit up here and talk about 4 hours how we have $45 million worth of needs with $6 million in the bank. So, you know, not that I agree with you totally. But we got to have money in the bank. We got to have, you know, some substance behind those checks that we write. And with $6 million, it don't go far. You know, that's why, you know, everybody wants to wait till the last minute to work on the budget. We need to work on the budget right now, not wait till 2 months before and have a couple workshops. The budget needs to be gone through right now, period. So, thank you.
I'm not sure what the other counties are doing, but they're accomplishing these things, and I'd love to see it accomplished here. And I want to thank you all. And Tony, again, thank you for the shade at the ballpark and for the batting cages. We appreciate that. We hope to make some progress over here in the Helen McCall Park, so our families don't have to drive 45 minutes to attend practice. I don't think anywhere else in the county has that issue, but we have it on the west end in Donna's area, and we hope to have that resolved soon. Thank you.
Ms. Harris.
I have one question sent to me from my attorney. He said, find out if 2025 board approval of the cell tower was an agenda item or a quasi-judicial item. That matters.
There's not been a 2025 approval. I assume your attorney meant the 2005 approval?
Yes, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. He said
It was
2005.
approved at a board meeting in 2005. Ms. Schultz, was it quasi? It was at a regular scheduled land use meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. She'd have to look back at those minutes. I don't have them in front of me, Ms. Harris, but
Okay.
it was at a land use meeting of the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, thanks.
Sir in the Navy. I got you next in the ball cap. State your name for the record.
David Parker. I'm in District 5, so wanted to tell Donna thank you for proposing what you did today, because we had a brief discussion about you wanting some things over in your area, and I know that there's a lot of population over there, so I appreciate that. I stand in front of you as the largest private landowner south of the bay. I don't think anybody wants to dispute that at this point, but I've assembled about 200 acres with a joint venture, and I'm really addressing it to the people in the public, because I know we get a lot of pushback on development and things like that. But I stand before you to make an offer. I start planning in January with DPZ to do a master plan and a PUD that will come in front of y'all. And I'm really just soliciting the public and the commissioners' suggestions, because I would like to offer up some of my land to the county. I'm not looking for a huge price tag or anything else, maybe some tax concessions, different things like that. So if we could all work together, and we can not hate development, so we can go and be progressive in what we're doing and work together, we won't have these arguments in here. We won't have budgetary problems, and we can get things accomplished for the betterment of the community. So I guess I just stand in front of you right now to address some of the issues that we just had and see if I can be a solution for that as I move forward in my planning process, because I'm going to spend a lot of money and I've already spent a lot of money. So I want to try to get it right. So I'm available anytime that anybody wants to meet. I retired at 40. So anytime anybody wants to sit down, I'm working on the farm out there. We have horses. Come out and see me. I'll also stand after this meeting and give out my number. I guess the ball coach left. Just trying to figure out how we can help people that want the county to do better as we grow, because we're going to continue to get growth. So we're going to need development. We're going to need ball fields. We're going to need marinas. We're going to need these things, and we need to work together to figure out where they need to go, wherever part of the county it is. And I'm glad to see that a lot of things went up north, so I'm not just a south side person. So congratulations for those land purchases, and look forward to helping y'all in any way. So thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Mr. Chair, while the next gentleman's coming up, it's August 9th, 2005. It does appear to have been after the swearing in of citizens. So pages 15 and 16 of those minutes reflect the approval. August 9th, 2005, regular meeting.
All right, is there anyone else after this gentleman? You are recognized. State your name for the record.
Hi, Mark Douglas, Douglass. I'd like to speak to a couple of things that were discussed at the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting on Monday night. There was an attempt to put some clarity on the issue of disclosure for making complaints to code, and it was clear as mud. Quite honestly, it was discussed as both ways. You didn't have to give your name. When I look it up on the state statutes, as according to this.
I'll help with that, Mr. Douglas. We had two separate issues addressed. Code complaint.
Stop the clock.
Well, it should have already stopped. 2:29, 7 seconds from when I looked over there and spoke. Code complaints cannot be anonymous, but there are limited exceptions, and we did delve into those. Environmental, certain public safety issues are the two big ones. That's what I talked to Ms. Landry about. So there are exceptions for anonymous complaints for certain limited issues, but otherwise, all code cases have to. I've addressed with Director Corman, just for the board's knowledge, that when you call in, you're asked to give your name, information. We need to make sure we clarify that there's an opt-out of that if they are going to be reporting an environmental or other statutorily allowed anonymous complaint. He told me they'd get to work on that. So to answer your question, all cases, unless they fall within that statutory exception, Mr. Douglas, do. Ms. Landry and I had a discourse there that we got into talking about keeping the complainant advised. And I said the problem is, because we were specifically addressing an environmental issue, or at least that's what I was under the context of discussing, that it's very hard to keep those people advised because they're anonymous. So it's not a one-size-fits-all model. But to your point, code cases must be publicly known. You have to give your name and address, telephone number, unless it falls into one of those statutory exceptions.
Also, at the same meeting, there was a discussion of code complaints, and by the time they get to planning, a kind of a disconnect. I can personally speak to that just from my personal experience, that code was very attentive to my complaints, but when I called code at some point, they went away. And that was partially because of what happened with the deal that was made that we discussed at the last meeting. I have just a general question for our county attorney. What is the penalty for perjury at a quasi-judicial hearing?
You can look, again, I'm not going to offer legal advice. Penalty of perjury is set forth in the Florida statute.
What would be the method or the instrument in which this person who claimed he was out of money at the code compliance hearing and at the zoning board
That's a criminal complaint you can make to the state attorney's office.
was able to purchase this property to remedy his problems? He said he was out of money twice, under oath.
Unfortunately, it's not something this board can take.
Is that, I mean, is there any penalty for that? I have to ask you. And how
You
would
can
I-
file that with the state attorney, Mr. Douglas. I just said that. This board cannot do any of that for you. If you wish to make a complaint for perjury, you can go to the sheriff's office or the state attorney's office. That's how criminal prosecutions work.
I would just have to ask, wouldn't that be worth considering when you would be looking at a situation where
Well, this
the-
board's not considering any of those things. It's not before this board. That's the problem.
it was in front of the planning director, and he's forgiving $48,000 in fine. And-
Board, I mean, this is going back before the magistrate, and it was, by the way, specifically stated at the time that that had not been done. No forgivenesses had been entered, and that will require your special magistrate to approve it. The planning director does not have the authority to do that. I would welcome the board to go listen to the ZBOA, where Mr. Dykes and Mr. Schoen both addressed this issue.
I also, at the last meeting, Commissioner Drake talked about, we're aware of your problem, now we're looking at remedy. What kind of remedy are we looking at?
That was answered. It was answered at the meeting. Mr. Kellenberger, would you like to address that?
The meeting, and I also answered you in an email, Mr. Douglas. You filed a code complaint. Code came and took action. The person that was non-compliant did not complete the corrective action in the time given. He was referred to the magistrate. The magistrate gave him options to become compliant, seek a variance or adjust the building, or you can adjust your property by buying more property.
After you've perjured yourself?
So, Mr.
I don't see how that's not an insignificant detail.
But the board
but
denied
he's-
the request.
But he's addressed how you personally can take on that criminal case if you feel it's worthy, all right? So the remedies have been done. We've explained that to you, and I'm not quite sure why there's not an understanding of it.
There's plenty of understanding about it. I would like to just make a few comments.
Okay.
At the last meeting, I
You
was
have 30
said
seconds
that,
to
well,
make them.
things didn't go your way. I would say they didn't go the way of Walton County. They didn't go the way they should. They didn't go the way justice should be served. The last thing I would like to say
Can I address
is,
something for that for just a second?
Pause this
Pardon?
time.
So there's been discussion that there was a workaround. Mr. Boyd's address is 180 East Wilson Street. So that gives the orientation of his lot, correct?
I want to tell you, I have the
Hold on,
same
wait.
orientation
Hey,
across the
Mr. Douglas, please, if I may. Mr. Kellenberger, would you ask him your question?
So that gives the orientation of his lot, okay? It faces Wilson Street. When the original plat was laid out, it did not face Wilson Street, just as your lot does not face 6th Central Street.
Is that correct?
My front door is on East Wilson Street. My side setback should be 7 feet as well.
Your address is on 6th Central Street. Your lot was originally
That's a mistake in the 911 orientation of my lot. My front door is on East Wilson Avenue.
okay?
Go look, okay?
But
Just,
what
I'm
I'm
not
saying
here
is-
to argue my situation like that, but I am here to say something else.
All right, you got 17 seconds to
Well,
say
I
it.
want to say something. I've been trying to reach the sheriff on the phone for almost a year. I don't get to speak to him. I've tried to set up an appointment to talk to him. I'm interested in setting up an old-style neighborhood watch program in my neighborhood. We've had a lot of problems in the Chet Holly Road area. There's been some violent crime and thefts that have taken place in the news this week. I would like to just network with neighbors and try to get back to the point where
Mr.,
I'm more worried about what's going on out the street.
Sir, you've been a little aggressive with your time. Clay, would you like to would you like to try to arrange a meeting with the sheriff for this gentleman?
I have no control over the sheriff. I mean, we can certainly reach out, but I don't know
Okay.
what good the county is gonna do in setting that up.
Sheriff Atkinson, I'm here. You know how to get up with me.
I think you've made your point. Anyone else in the audience? Seeing none, Commissioner Anderson moves we rise. Show that done with